Hello there? Hello there, hello there, hello there. I don't know why my camera seems to have paused on a moment off screen where I look like a kind of a depressed Jason Momoa, possibly? I don't know. Configure video. Default. Is it? Okay. I don't know why it's I don't know why it's doing that. Deactivate and then activate maybe. Hey! Fucking hell. I don't know why he was doing that. That was very fucking strange. There we go. Now let's try and make myself look vaguely like a human being, shall we, rather than some sort of blancmange. And anyone who says I look like a blancmange is French and therefore illegal. Hey, anyway, how are we all? I think I can turn that light down a little bit. Where are we? Is that too much? There's quite a lot of difference between those two. That's only one setting. So do you want slightly darker Kev or slightly lighter Kev? I'm going to go darker. I have a bit more of a chilled one. You're a sweet little jelly tree. Well, that is delightful. No, actually, it's a bit too dark. There we go. Anyway, how are we all? Now, this isn't a screenshot from Civ. This is literally the thing we learned yesterday. The undeniable fact that the ancient Indians had nuclear weaponry. And this is one of Gandhi's ancestors from 5,000 years ago who had nuclear weaponry. That definitely happened, and anyone who says otherwise is gay. Anyway, howdy, how are we all? I spent the day with my eldest nephew, who, Jesus Christ, nearly 10 years old now. How time flies. Anyway, we were playing football in the park. It was delightful. But I will say this. I used muscles today that I have not used in many years. I think I've snapped every ligament and muscle in the back of both of my legs. I used to be able to play football, no problem, no warm-up necessary. And now I'm very old. I think I've mentioned this before. Very, very old. And no, I am going to suffer horrifically over the next few days with this, I think. But such is life. Such is Kev telling us he got laid? I was with my 10-year-old nephew. No, I was playing football, and I didn't warm up properly. And he's big enough now that he can run around properly. He was sort of playful when he was 4, because you just sort of kick it, and then he runs a few feet and then falls over. And it's very funny. Whereas now he's like big enough to play sort of football. And yeah.
Stop it. Get some help.
I think I might need to. I think I might need to go to a doctor of some variety. Yeah, I am fucked, man. You're not even 40. I'm nearly. I'm 38. Is it 38 or 37? I've stopped counting. Anyway. So that was enormous amount of fun, but I will have to warm up in future, I think. He's too big now for, to play football with properly. Well, when you asked what position do I play, it wasn't like an organised game of football. It was two dickheads kicking a ball around in a park. So when I say football, I mean it in the sense that they played football in no man's land. It wasn't like they didn't have linesmen. There wasn't a goalpost set up. Alan Turing. Indian. True. Literally true. Hello, Bunny in the box. Are you also watching the game surreptitiously on a second screen like I am? Kyogo's a little wasteful, isn't he? I wonder why Celtic didn't want to keep him. There you go. Rats for goalposts, true. A story as old as Birmingham time itself. Anyway, thank you Cupcake Chaos for resubscribing. 54 months, absolutely delicious activity. Yes, so, if you wanted to help out in any of the normal ways, I will go through them. Because fuck it, why not? Yes, you can... You can, if you're on Twitch, you can hit the follow button. You can subscribe. You can subscribe with Amazon Prime. You can give subs to the community. What else am I doing? But you got bits messages. You can do bits messages. 200 bits or more gets you a text to speech. You can do super chats via the Streamlabs link below. $2 or more there gets you a text to speech. It's fucking sexy. You can go and check out the Discord. I've got... what have I got? Herpes? No, I'm only joking. I've got... I've got fucking brain worms. I know that much. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, fucking hell. Patreon and PayPal. I'm tired. It's too hot, and I decided to do exercise in the heat. See, this is what being a good uncle does to you, right? I purposely just chose not to breed because I didn't want to have to do this. And yet I'm still being dragged into having to go into the park in the baking sunshine, running around. Look at me. Do I look like I'm built to do that? Because I'm fucking not. Anyway. Now. Yeah, I've got Discord, Blue Sky, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and all that shit, right? If you're on YouTube, hello YouTube. You can subscribe, you can hit the bell icon, you can thumb the video up, you can do all of that shit. Actually, also, whilst I'm here, I'm on the YouTube, what I will do, because I released the debate from, and also I did a thumbnail and everything. It was nice. So the debate I did with Bowler Hatman from, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah. So I'll post a link to that in chat, in both of the chats. If you could go and give that a little thumb up, and leave a message or something, because you know, algorithms are going to algorithm or something. So yeah, that's a task for you, chat. Anyway. Is the hat it? No, the hat is. They're telling me it's still like on its way today. But if they knock the door now, I'm not fucking answering, so they're just gonna have to leave it on the doorstep. Imagine if I get a bowler hat stolen. Like, how grim is Birmingham? That's a genuine concern. Look, hang on. I'm fucking right. So if you're on YouTube, do those things, right? I've also got. You can become a member for 99 pence. You can gift memberships to the community, and you can do super chats, and I'll read those out. Right, shilling complete. I'm trying not to get as distracted. I'm trying to set myself the task of doing a thing and then doing the next thing, rather than doing this a bit, because you know. So they're still saying the hat is arriving today. Which is fucking dumb. Like, just, this is supposed to come in 2 days ago. Yeah, if there's a rat roller going around with a bowler hat on tomorrow. You know what? Considering I don't need it anymore, and someone already gave me the money for it, someone already donated money for it, didn't they? Actually, a couple of people did, I think. The rats can have it. Because the one thing I wanted it for, it's now going to have arrived 2 days after. So I don't need it. I was never really going to use it. So the rats can fucking have it. Although, to be honest with you, the fact that the rats are so big now, that hat, that big bowler hat, is going to look like a little yarmulke. Just sort of perched atop their massive craniums. Which, you know, is interesting. I'm suggesting the rats are very, very large. They are excessive, I would suggest. No, it's 363 days early. That's, you know what? That's the positive attitude we need going forward, I think. Definitely. Anyway, yeah, so you can help me out with those things. Right. So, what was I going to do? I've literally forgotten what I was going to do. Did I have a bit of business for the start of the show? I might have done. Where is it? 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 Oh no, we already showed that. Oh no, I don't. I don't. So basically I've got two pieces of content for you. Right? We're going to take a look at a very funny thing and then a not very heavy thing. And the not very heavy thing is a thing I've already watched. Now, you know I don't usually pre-watch, but I hadn't planned on watching this on stream. This seemed very much like the kind of content that I would personally enjoy, that might be inappropriate. And I don't mean inappropriate in some bad, like, negative sense. It's perfectly fine to be on YouTube. But just, like, not necessarily something we would watch together. But it's so good, I felt like I really had to. I feel like I really, really had to bring it to you. Because it genuinely might be the best thing I think I've ever seen on this fucking shithole of a platform. Which is saying something, I think, because I've seen some very good things. It's just, this was, I think, the best. Or very, very close to it. So I wanted to watch that with you. Kev, maybe don't talk about rats wearing yarmulkes. Well, no, to be fair, I didn't say it would be wearing a yarmulke. I said it would look like that because it is essentially a very small piece of headwear on a larger scalp. I wasn't suggesting the rat was converting to Judaism, which would itself be very offensive. So, you know. Anyway. Why have you pissed off Gandhi again? Well, because he was a fucking nonce. Literally true. Look it up. Anyway, so hang on, what's this? There's linky links. Solid memes 255. Solid memes. Fair dues. Anyway, on a completely unrelated note, everyone, you know my opinions at my very pro stance on public fingering. Both of the corpses and of the heavy petting amongst young lovers. You know I'm very much, we're very much in the thumbs up, quite literally. On the public fingering front. Bear that in mind as we go forward. I don't want people to think of that as an endorsement of any of the people you are going to hear about in the first story, okay?
Hey guys, Sam Stein, managing editor at The Bull, joined by Tim Miller and Will Summer to talk about, I don't even know, honestly, how to describe it.
The girls are fighting. The MAGA girlies are fighting.
Describe it, Tim.
A reality show cat fight among MAGA influencers. And
yes.
I'm begging, I've been already on Twitter, I've been begging Matt Gaetz to host an OAN show.
Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer's probably right, but I kind of want him to be the Andy Cohen. Where he brings them all together.
It's not a problem.
These women are out for blood. I mean, they are.
I've never seen anything like it.
The way in which they're all MAGA. This is all MAGA on MAGA crime. They're all influencers, and boy,
I don't know. This isn't the Luma versus MTG. This is even more niche than that. Like MTG is a public official, right? And And technically, Laura Loomer has had bits of public official inside of her. That's technically true. We won't go into it. It's literally stomach-churningly disgusting. So, yes. This is about two rather more niche conservative influencers, by which I mean grifters, doing essentially sort of catfight. It's internet catfight is what it is, and it's very funny.
Play.
Okay.
They don't seem to like each other.
So I admit that I don't really know these people, like, at all, but Will does.
Where are you? Where have you been?
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
you don't know
I'm not as
Morgan
deep
Ariel.
into this.
Morgan Ariel is one of the most prominent TPUSA girls turned anti-Semite.
Yeah.
like far rightist.
Okay, Will, why don't you give us, just before we get into the TikTok here, because it's juicy as shit. Will,
Oh, that's great. A euphemism for fingering. Digitization. Fuck yes. That's good. That's good.
who are these people? Like, how significant are they?
Yeah, so this is sort of a feud between people who are sort of far right influencers. I would say for the most part, like, too racist or anti-Semitic to get an invite to TPUSA anymore, to Turning Point USA. But, like, it's that.
But are they racist enough to get an invitation to Mar-a-Lago? Because that is different, isn't it? You know? You can be too racist for TPUSA and not racist enough to meet the kind of Kanye threshold for a Mar-a-Lago invite.
That kind of world, like, they're like, they wouldn't get on Fox News probably, but they still have pretty big followings. I mean, like, everyone we're talking about here has probably at least 100,000, 90,000.
Kieran, you are not far from the truth. Is this the fight about who likes dick so much? Kinda. And, like, racism in American conservative politics is so mental now that they just say, oh, well, you fuck black guys. And that's enough. That's like, that can end careers. That can destroy, that's a put down. That's a mic drop. Oh, you fuck a black dude. Well, that's it. You just do a racism. That's it. That's all you need. It's fucking easy, man. If you've got absolutely no conscience and scruples about you whatsoever, you could make a fucking killing.
1,000 followers on X. Some go up to, I think, 1 million. And so they're pretty big deals. I mean, it was last night. This has been kind of brewing for a few days. And then I was keeping an eye on it. And then suddenly someone was like, well, you got fingered in the lobby. And I thought, all right, this needs to be shared with a broader audience.
First of all, I like how Will's so anthropological about it. He's so academic the way he discusses it. Like, we're talking about dildos, fingering in the lobby, and Will's just got his button-up shirt and talking about this shit.
The other thing I liked about Will is he was demure enough to initially post a screenshot that redacted the names of these young women. Because he didn't want to.
Decorum, okay? Even though it literally says the line, you got fingered in the middle of a hotel lobby. You don't want names involved, okay? Let's keep it respectable, yeah?
It was his initial post, and I
literally
my phone starts lighting up with friends like, tell Summer to post the full tweet. Like, I need to see who fingered who in the lobby. I have to know. So anyway,
I will say this lobby incident has been kind of the talk of the town for several years, and they're far right. So I'm excited to get into that.
Okay, when we get to that in the sequence of the tweets, we're going to let you just sort of cook a little bit. So we tried to map this out. It was really hard because there's multiple directions it takes. A couple of accusations of dildos and HPV and sleeping with black men is a federal crime. The origin appears to be...
The ingredients of it are mental. Well, I'll tell you what the origin is. I don't know what they're going to mention. But basically, one of these griftoids got engaged, right? Which is fine in of itself. Nothing wrong with that. Congratulations. Good luck to you and all that shit, right? And she posted online the picture of herself with a wedding ring on. You know, the old on the finger. And apparently this was not sufficiently enormous and showy enough for a different right-winger who came out and said, oh, what, are you and your husband really poor? Why have you got such a shit ring? really in touch with the white urban working class, I think. And so it went from there, and to the point of like accusations of fingerings and fucking of black men, etc., etc. Both of which apparently are bad things. I've learned.
Sarah Stock, who, Will, correct me if I'm wrong, she's like a newcomer on the scene.
Yeah, she's relatively new. She's people may know her from the Sam Cedar Jubilee video. You know, one of these.
Yeah, she's a fascist bitch. Yeah.
Like Sam's liberal versus 20 conservatives, but she's the one who's like, America is a white ethno state, and people are like, whoa. And so she's used that to really increase her profile from there.
All right, so Sarah Stock posts a photo. It's a fairly standard engagement photo. It's her with her hand and then rings on it, and there's like a flower of fields. It all looks pretty nice, but apparently the ring wasn't big enough, and so that sets off Pearl Davis.
Yeah,
who is who?
Pearl Davis, just briefly, is sort of like almost like a female Andrew Tate character. She's very like,
oh, pearly things. God, she's a freak. Yeah. I think we've featured her on the channel before. With getting owned by Piers Morgan a while back.
Women need to be submissive to men, you know, and she does these kind of crazy takes that just...
Okay, for a second, though, when you said she's a female Andrew Tate character, I thought she was sex trafficking men. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of interested in
A
Pearl
reverse
Davis.
Tate. We call it a reverse Tate.
Got it.
Yeah.
She has Andrew Tate-like views.
Yes, so yeah, she has very, I guess, anti-feminist views, and that's how she built her platform. But
Other interestingly, anti-feminist views, and is really racist, but yet fucks a black guy, even though she's very racist and a white woman, and doesn't have kids, isn't married, and has a professional career as a, I don't know, shit stirrer, I guess. I don't know.
But I should say, like, Pearl really hates other women, and it's a big deal with her because she has very trad views, but she is herself not married, or as far as I know.
Yeah, she goes by Pearly Things on social media or whatever, but she's called Pearl Davis. That's her name. Yeah, like she's like you could call her the apex predator of the griftoid sphere. I think maybe certainly one of them. She's genuinely awful. Yeah.
In a relationship, so whenever these more trad women get married, she like kind of gets mad about it.
Okay, just really quick, I want to throw out there, just as a quick aside, it is not safe as a MAGA influencer to post engagement photos. That's just something we've learned the last 2 weeks. We also had Robbie Suave of Reason, who posted his gay engagement photo, and that yielded some of the
woke
nastiest shit I've ever seen in the responses before this video. So just we now have 2 data points. If you're a MAGA influencer and you get engaged, keep it to yourself.
That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good public service announcement.
Yeah.
Material right there. All right, so Pearl Davis says Sarah's just posting the engagement photo to promote her brand, and then it really takes a fucking turn.
Which is a relatively gentle rib, I would say.
Yeah, but it's not necessary, but it's fine. It's not beyond the bounds. Then it really fucking takes a turn, because Sarah shoots back that Pearl is, quote, ran through by black guys.
That was the first response to what was some of the mildest shit. Like, she's just doing it to get a bit of clout, you know, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah? Well, you like black cock. Checkmate, bitch. Like, what the fuck? That escalated ridiculously fast. Like, it just didn't miss a beat. Just went straight for racism. Just racism. That's all you're going to do. Straightforward racism.
What the fuck? Like, why the fuck? What? Why? I don't. Just totally taking it to a level that was not necessary.
Yeah, well, these women really hate Pearl, I should say, because she's constantly like undermining other right-wing women. Yeah.
She's like the Omarosa of this
it's just like
reality thing.
Clearly, like she was ready to go off on Pearl.
Okay. Now, then comes from the top rope, Emily Saves America. Who the fuck is that? I should know, probably.
Emily Saves America is sort of just like, you know, what you might, I wouldn't call them this, but like a right-wing e-girl, right? I mean, she kind of like floats between, I think, these right-wing outlets, and I think she was at the Blaze until recently. And, you know...
Ah, fuck! I got rid of the video that I didn't want to get rid of. There we go. Can we remember where we were? No, we fucking can't.
Hey guys, Sam Starr Fields and all.
Feminist views, and that's how she built her platform.
Pearl is, quote, ran through by black.
Clearly, like, she was ready to go off on Pearl.
Okay. Now, then comes from the top rope, Emily Saves America. Who the fuck is that? I should know, probably.
Get the
Emily
fuck
Saves
back
America
in
is
that play me all the mutants.
Fair point. Hello there, Mad Cat Scotty. Everyone go and follow Mad Cat Scotty on the various platforms. She's an awesome Scot. So do that.
Sort of just like, you know, what you might, I wouldn't call them this, but like a right-wing e-girl, right? I mean, she kind of like floats between, I think, these right-wing outlets, and I think she was at the Blaze until recently. And, you know, she just does videos about, you know, how great Trump is.
She makes fun of the ring size. Then Ian Smith.
Yeah, this guy...
Ray Alan, you should hit the follow button. I notice you're not followed, so you should hit the follow button. It's literally free and literally sexy.
Is famous.
That guy?
This guy is famous because he refused to close a gym in New Jersey during COVID. And
Oh, he's an idiot. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, my bad.
he became famous for that. But he's basically like a Nazi. I mean, he's like really right-wing.
So he comes out, he calls her an unwed, childless Fox News girl boss who complains when women make sourdough, now hates on ring size of a happily engaged young woman. Congrats, Bozo, you're a feminist.
You're a feminist is literally like an insult to these people. Just spectacularly stupid. Like they're too cooked to realise it.
And Emily Saves America does not take this one lightly.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is when it gets really juicy. Bulwark Takes is sponsored by Soul. I gotta tell you,
Get the fuck out, you fucking adverts, you fucking shit libs. Get wrecked.
Says America writes back, between allegedly, in quotations, cheating on your wife, being caught with a dildo up your ass, killing a teenager, I don't know why she blacked out the I in that, killing a teenager with your first of 2 DUIs, you really should sit this one out.
They don't look. They don't. There's no foreplay with these lads, is there? They're just straight in there. They couldn't give a fuck. Just straight like in for the craziest shit. Any amount of nonsense there, and it's just like you allegedly cheated on your wife, were caught with a dildo up your ass, killed a teenager with 2 UIs. What the fuck? That went from, oh, you fuck black guys, to like some serious criminality.
Oh.
Also true, yeah, if you've got a dildo up your ass, that is going to make sitting down more difficult.
How do these people know so much about each other? I think is another thing that is interesting to me. But what is the dildo up your ass story? Do you know the
I need to
backstory
know.
to that, Will?
I think it involves a man with a sex toy in his rectum. That's the crux of that story.
I was wondering.
I have to be honest, I'm not familiar with the dildo situation. This is the first I was hearing of it. I do know.
Call yourself a journalist.
I guess this fatal car crash, I think, had come up in the past. But this is a guy who, again, like Pearl, is a very contentious figure on the right, and so people really have the receipts on him.
Okay.
Could you get back to us with more on the dildo situation? Because I don't.
The next false flag needs to be about the dildo, please.
And I don't want to impugn this guy, or I mean nothing. I guess it's not impugning to get a dildo up your ass. That's totally appropriate if that's what you're into. But you know,
Sure.
we don't want any false information out there.
No, and we're going through this incredible dildo epidemic at WNBA games. They're throwing dildos all over the floor. We're really in a golden age of dildos.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is not the insult that Emily thinks it is. Now a separate fight starts breaking out on the side. Morgan Ariel. Will, let's dive in. Who's Morgan?
Yeah, Morgan Ariel was sort of a Turning Point USA figure until she got really anti-Semitic, and so kind of got the boot from that.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's kind of like
Well, nakedly anti-Semitic. You can do JQing. You can do like you know, slightly hidden JQing stuff about, like, you know, replacement and stuff, you know, and George Soros and Charles Schwab and all of that. But you just can't come out and be like, so, do the Jews have a space laser? Did they bomb that Indian city 4,000 years ago with a nuclear device? I don't know. You need to keep, you know, a thin veneer of respectability.
Tier 2 Candace, maybe tier 3.
Yeah,
She's kind of
tier
like
3,
a homeless man's Candace Owens, kind
Yeah,
of.
exactly.
I would say.
She's not like the great value Candace. I mean, she's a couple tiers below that.
I want to get back to Morgan because I'll let you know, during the course of this, I began to feel sympathetic towards Morgan. And then I found the most blatantly anti-Semitic tweet.
Yeah, Jewish space lasers. Indian! True. Everything is Indian.
From her that was issued just like hours before this whole thing went down. I was like, oh, wait, no, not my side of the fight. Anyways, she comes in and she says to Emily, you gave it up for free, ho. Might want to sit this one out.
You gave it up for free, ho. You're just talking about having sex. Look, there's such mentalists that having consensual sex is like, that's too much. Consensual sex outside of wedlock is giving it up for free, ho. Which, by the way, sort of breaks the idea of the ho, surely. Surely if there's one thing that defines the ho, it is the charging for sex. Implicitly, surely. If it's being given for free, that isn't really hoeing as such. That's literally the opposite of hoeing. No, sorry to bring like logic into it for you, but you know.
And Emily, who just knows one speed, responds with a bazooka. Morgan, your baby daddy abandoned you. You're raising a bastard child, but yet somehow, some way, you think you're better than me or anyone on this app. You gave it up for free, got left in the dust, and now post rage bait on X to supplement in the inadequacy of your monthly child support payment.
Your baby daddy abandoned you. You're raising a bastard child. What fucking year is this? You're raising a bastard child. I'm sorry. Is this 1765 again? What is this? What fucking year are we in? You raise bastard spawn. Fucking hell.
I don't. Is Morgan's baby daddy also an influencer? Is that right, or do I have that mixed up? Well, or do we not know?
I don't think we know that. At some point,
Hey,
I think
guys.
Pearl also says, you know, like, Morgan, you have HPV, because Morgan posted a YouTube about her HPV once. I mean, it's like stuff that, you know, if it was in high school, be like, holy smokes, like, these are really going for it.
Right. And it just goes from there. I want to, because then Morgan.
We shouldn't be stigmatizing HPV either, I should say.
Well,
You know,
yeah,
it's
I mean-
easily dealt with. Okay, so that's just, you know, just something I wanted to throw out there.
I like that you're defending all this stuff.
Yeah.
The real voice of reason here. Okay, and then comes the real, like, coup de grace. I mean, this one was truly from the depths of, like, anger and humiliation. You know,
So Morgan, just to contextualize, because now we're getting a lot of names. This is the anti-Israel, anti-Semite who is a single mother who has HPV.
And is raising a bastard child. Please, let's get the facts right, shall we?
not the dude with the dildo in his
She
ass.
came in late to the debate, and now she's going after not the original person that posted the engagement photo, but the person that made fun of the person who posted the engagement photo.
Yeah, we
Just
have,
so we
like,
understand
multiple-
the players here.
Yes, of course. We have the ass dildo guy, the HPV girl. We have Emily Saves America. We have Pearl, who somehow threw the first lob and then, like, got out.
Yeah.
And then we have Sarah Stock, who accused Pearl, I believe, of, like, having sex with black dudes as if that's a crime, and then just was, like, kind of quiet for a little bit. But here's Morgan responding to
Well,
him.
in the racist world of the conservatoid, fashoid, griftoid sphere, having sex with black man is like the worst thing you can do, I think.
Emily Saves America. In what is the perfect tweet of the night. None of this is true, Emily, but unlike you, I don't lie. So here are some facts, guys. Buckle in here.
Facts.
You got fingered in the middle of the hotel lobby at a TPUSA event while everybody watched. and there were families around.
There were families. Mommy, where's that man's hand gone? Oh no. Not all public fingerings are equal, is what I'll say.
Can't do this. I don't know if I
Any
can do
slam that starts with "you got fingered" is gonna be a winner. I have to say, that's just as a figure skating judging, not discussing the morality of it. Or
Yeah,
the
it's like
tactility,
landing
just
the
like,
triple axle on the first jump
it's
right
a strong, It's a strong opener.
there. You brag about having sex
It
with
does
married
open it,
MAGA
yeah.
dads and doing drugs. You have been completely
Fucking MAGA dads. And doing drugs.
you've been completely ran through. They keep saying ran through. You've been completely ran through by both single and married men in the right wing. You call young virgins losers, encourage them to have premarital sex, and you're pro-abortion.
Oh, yeah, this is... Look, any involvement of public fingering, and you know the Kev's on board.
Disgusting feminist whore with a Jezebel spirit who uses filters.
Jezebel spirit. Oh, bastard child Jezebel spirit. Fuck yes. We are experiencing the full gamut of language and emotion tonight.
In all her videos. Ouch, Morgan.
Ooh, deep cut.
Come on.
And lives in rebellion to God while grifting off the conservative movement, and simultaneously trashes women who desire to live God-honoring lifestyles because their engagement rings didn't cost enough or their lifestyle isn't flashy enough. But yeah, I'm the one who needs money, you gold-digging hoe. So yeah.
Everyone's a hoe. You're a hoe, and you're a hoe. You're definitely a fucking hoe. You got fingered. Everybody's a hoe.
I am better than you.
Wow.
Well, there's a lot of lore about.
I
this
thought you said
fingering.
this wasn't going to be
If
heavy.
you could add any color to it.
Yeah,
Yes, this is where Will's expertise comes in.
Yeah, this is
so
the heavy
I
bit of the
think
show.
In Twitter Spaces, where right-wing influencers have talked about
I
the
told
fingering
ya.
incident, the hookup incident.
The first part of the show is going to be the heavy bit, and then we're going to end up with something that's not too heavy. Okay. So that's the way round it's going to be.
Whatever. Basically, Current Revolt, which is a right-wing blog out of Texas, which actually does some decent reporting. They reported a few years ago. Basically, this came to a head when Christian Walker, who people may remember as the son of Herschel Walker, he accused Elijah Schaffer, who is a right-wing guy who worked at the Blaze and left that under allegations of sexual assault to his coworkers.
We should throw out there really quick that Elijah Schaffer has now spun off his own kind of white nationalist right-wing media outlet.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's like I see a lot in my feed. So you know, some prominence in the white nationalist area.
Yes, and that comes up
Yeah,
because
Elijah Schaffer. Jesus Christ, amazing.
Because so basically Christian Walker and Current Revolt said that Emily here had hooked up with Elijah Schaffer in the lobby, and I'm assuming, given it's a TV USA,
So Elijah Schaffer was the fingerer. All the pieces fall into place. The gold digging hoe that got fingered, and the Jezebel spirit, and a bastard child, and it was Elijah Schaffer in the pussy with his fingers. It's like Cluedo. Do you have Cluedo in America? It's probably called something different. Elijah Schaffer. I think the only conservative to get pussy. Ever.
lobby. I'm assuming it's the same thing that's being
Oh my
referred
God!
to.
So Elijah Schaffer is the fingerer.
That's the allegation.
That's the allegation.
No pre-watch. No pre-watch. I pre-watched the second half of the show, not this bit.
And,
Oh, wow.
and there's also a twist here
According to
because-
Christian Walker. According to
According
Christian
to
Walker.
Christian Walker, Revolt. And I would also
Gays
say
no gossip.
that just to show you how incestuous all this is, Elijah Schaffer is now Sarah Stock's boss at his new media venture. So you know, it's a
The
very
original
intense
person
scene.
that posted the engagement photo. So just to circle this up for people who are trying to follow, the fingerer, okay, who fingered the lady that went after Sarah Stock for her engagement photo, is also the boss of the engagement photo poster. Got it. Okay, that's an
got it.
interesting. That's an
All right.
interesting wrinkle.
So as this is going down, and Morgan,
I'm sure she does have an interesting wrinkle.
USA, and Pearl, who started a lot of this, decides that she's going to go after Morgan. So sorry, I'm catching my breath here. She says, "Morgan, you are a single mother with a public video admitting you have HPV. You may want to sit this one out."
Yeah, she would sit it out, but it's quite sore down there, so she needs to stand up. I think now would be a really good time to shill. You should give me money. I do amazing content here. I think you should have to pay for that. I don't think you should get this kind of gold for free. I'm just saying. The Kev is not a hoe, okay? The Kev is such a hoe.
Oh, man. And then we just keep going from there. Emily goes after Morgan for raising a bastard child. Morgan then goes after Emily for... we got the fingering.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so that brings us to me. I went through this whole thing just sort
Did you get fingered as well? That's amazing.
of kind of like, I feel bad for Morgan because she's really like just, it just seemed rough on her, and I felt like that was wrong, and like, there were a bunch of racist shit and stuff like that. And then I just kind of like decided to check out who Morgan was a little bit, and I just scrolled through the Twitter feed, like literally like half a page, like not even that. And I stumbled upon this tweet that she had issued earlier in the day, like 7:27 p.m. So we're talking about hours before this whole thing went down, where she writes, "TPUSA kicked me out of their organization and blacklisted me because I exposed Israel and the Talmud right after October 7th.
Hang on, you exposed the Talmud. To be fair, I think that's been sort of like... That hasn't been hidden. Well, that's been a publicly available text for a long time. Like a really, really fucking long time. I don't think you exposed anything. I think you were just being anti-Semitic. Like, you can try and dress it up as theological discourse, but what you were is just a bigoted fuck. Shit. Just kicked my fan over. Awesome.
Charlie Kirk is owned by his Jewish donors. His loyalty doesn't...
Jesus Christ. Yeah, it was definitely exposing the Talmud that got you fucking fired. Yeah.
lie with Christians. Christ is king. And I thought to myself, geez, that's fucking anti-Semitic. And I don't know if I can take sides with this person anymore.
You're no longer Team Morgan.
I don't think there is a side taking in this situation.
No,
no, they're all awful. Yeah, every single one of them is scum.
I don't think that there's anybody that is a white hat. I think that it's sort of a...
Who comes out looking well here? No one?
I guess Sarah Stock. She's engaged.
Sarah Stock, but she was throwing out accusations about, oh, you sleep with black people, and it's like, what the fuck?
Oh, is that her?
Yeah, and you know, she's got the tiny diamond and all that.
She went in response to
tiny diamond.
Once you stop getting ran through by black guys, it can happen to you too.
Rude.
That is rude.
Not great. Last question for Will: what the fuck happens at TPUSA gatherings? Like, what is going on
Fingerings happen.
on there? It's just a fuck fest. What is like the deal?
They sound fun if you're into it. I mean, this kind of thing, I should say, like allegations of like who misbehaved at TPUSA. This is a very common trope on the right about like, we all know what you were up to at the bar, this kind of stuff. I mean, I think someone made the reference.
It's like a high school. It's embarrassing. Anyway, another one from these dickheads. But this time it's the Laura Loomer versus MTG. And there's yet more discussion of genitals. Because... obviously.
Sam Stein, managing editor at The Bulwark. I am back with Tim Miller and Will Summer. Apparently the last video the three of us did together was not too depraved, that they decided to bring us back to talk about something I honestly am a little bit nervous to discuss because it's even more depraved. We're going to get into
They're calling us the fingering trio now out there.
Is that what they're calling us?
Yeah.
Okay.
might want to work on that.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah, they call you the Three Fingers.
band name is either taken or no one wants it.
Oh, great.
Let's tell the viewers to subscribe to the feed where they can get more from the Fingering Trio, and including this coming story on Laura Loomer, her deposition involving Bill Maher, and a truly grotesque line of inquiry involving Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's get right into it. All right, Will, set us up. What is the situation? Why is Laura Loomer sitting for a deposition?
Sure. So people may remember last year there was a
Banks
point where
donated
Trump.
$4.07. I don't have a great deal, but just wanted to give a little thank you.
Oh, enormously grateful. Thank you. Yeah, I genuinely appreciate that. Much love. I will only use it to buy the finest heroin that money can't buy because I will steal it. But anyway, no, but genuinely, thank you. Don't ever, if anyone's not in good financial straits, don't stress yourself out financially. If you just watch and never give a penny, that's absolutely fine. Your eyeballs are delicious. Thank you to, oh my sweet Jesus, Orgle Wargle, for gifting, is that 20 fucking subs? Jesus Christ. Do we still do the crab dance? I think that's more for deaths now, isn't it? Have we moved on from the crab dance? I don't know. I'll strip tease for you. I'll make my butthole wink. I don't know. Did I really just say I'll make my butthole wink? Are people into that? I don't think people are into that. That's just gross. Anyway, thank you. Yes, if someone, if someone gives a thing now, we go into a hype train, and then I get to finger other people. I took my trip to Shropshire this morning to finger Clive, Robert Clive. He was very dead. Can we get some lols in chat? He's still very, very dead. Extremely dead. Sing this instead. What's this? What is it? Smart parody of Psychosocial by Slipknot. Thank you.
Stop it. Get some help.
Bust a load of semen in me. I wasn't expecting that tonight. All I'll say is I currently have lined up on the desktop, right? A video of Psychosocial, but it's about sucking dick. And literally the next video next to it that you can see there, right? We just click on that. It's a video about the Nuremberg trials with a thing underneath it about the Holocaust. Those are the two tabs I have open next to one another. I do a very specific kind of show, don't I? The very, very, very small sliver of society would get me, I think. Thank you, Swirly Curly, for gifting us sub. Much love to you. Being a hoe is fun. Everyone should try it. Everyone should try it. Absolutely. We're on a hype train. If we're already on level 5, if we get to level 6 of the hype train, then I'll sing whatever the fuck this. No, I won't sing that. I don't know what that is. What is this? What is this nonsense? Yeah, that is the lighter stuff, yes.
The return of the sausage.
Every morning I rise,
Just
every
a
morning
kitty
just
bun.
a little bit inside of me dies. Gotta smoke a pound of purple just to open my eyes. Every time my mama sees me in the flesh, she cries. And I really wanna know, yo, where did the time go? All this isolation's turning me psycho. If you're looking at my dick, you'll see it's micro. Singing, I make this. turn. Then I scoop up the revenue that I earn. Make videos raining on the internet because I have a hard time getting bitches wet.
I can't really understand what he's saying, so that could be really funny, but I have no fucking idea. Yeah. Thank you, Iwood, with Biddy Bits. Much love to you. We are on level 6, so I suppose I'll finger... who will I finger? You know what? In honour of the Nuremberg trials, I will finger the corpse of Hermann Goering. Which is going to be tricky because they burnt those corpses, scattered the ashes in a river. So technically, I will just have to go to that river in southern Germany and just put my hand in it. And hope that the particles are there or something? I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, Marjorie Taylor Greene's pussy. Let's go.
Was hanging out a lot with Laura Loomer. She was on the plane sometimes during the campaign, and
she was sucking his dick. She was sucking his penis.
Bill Maher went on his show and said maybe they're sleeping together. Maybe he's cheating on Melania with Laura Loomer.
Who's Trump fucking? And it's not Melania. I think we may have our answer this week. I think it might be Laura Loomer. I'm just saying.
And then so she claims that this created all this trouble. She says she was banned from the plane. And so she sued him in October. And so now it's gotten to the point where she's getting deposed. And somewhat inexplicably, her lawyers now, just recently, a few weeks ago, basically broke the rules of the judge by putting the whole deposition into the court record, even though it's like pretty embarrassing. It includes a lot of confidential details that they wanted to keep private. It's really inexplicable, but it's out there now.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you to Tess for gifting a membership. No, for... hang on. Yes, that is the way round it was done. Tess for gifting a membership to Cymru, which is either a very funny way of spelling the name of Wales in Welsh, because that is how you're supposed to sort of pronounce it. But yeah. Oh yes, I did see this. Right. Thank you for linking this to the story. Right. So I've talked in the past about how David Lammy, the current British Foreign Secretary, needs to be to face criminal charges for his crimes. Right. And thankfully, he is now going to face legal ramifications for his fishing trip. He went on a fishing trip with Vance, who's been on holiday here in Britain, and he didn't have a fishing license, and so they're gonna probably fine him a very small sum of money. But but I was hoping maybe they'd send him to The Hague for his war crimes, but they are gonna do this though, so that's really glad the police give a fuck. If they're not arresting 80-year-olds, they're doing pointless dumb shit like this. And by the way, yes, we are that cucked of a nation that you need a license to go fishing. Yeah. That's how shit Britain is. You have to have a license. And it's not like a proficiency license. It's not like a driver's license. They don't test you. They just want to steal your money. And the British public went, yeah, go on then. I'll sit in the cook chair with the fish. Embarrassing.
Have they explained why that happened?
Well, I think they really want to get Bill Maher's deposition out there, because I think, look, Bill Maher is a guy who is known to kind of stick his foot in his mouth at times.
Ogle Walk, that's a different 20. Jesus Christ, my man. /woman /they them. I don't know what the fuck you are. And it doesn't matter. You're glorious. Yeah, thank you. That's incredibly generous. I hope you have enough money. I hope you're exceedingly rich and that this amount of money doesn't affect you. Because that's quite a lot of money. But thank you nonetheless. Glorious. Yes, everyone go and follow OnlyFacts. I still want to call you OnlyFacts TV, and you haven't been that for 2 fucking years or some shit. I suppose the goal is to limit overfishing. It is not, Marcel Paul. Not really, no, because it hasn't really affected the number of fish being caught. It's basically a way that the British government have found that they can do fisheries, in river conservation stuff, basically for free, by getting the fish people to, not the fish people, not the mer people, they're tax free. The fucking mer people, we live in a merocracy. Government by the mer, for the mer, of the mer. I'm talking shite. Anyway, it's basically to get fishermen, people who fish, to do the thing. But that we should take care of that anyway. Why the fuck are we taxing people for wanting to fish? We need rivers. We have to look after the fucking rivers anyway.
Not enough for a hat.
It's like a TV license, but for river. Well, it's not even that, I don't think, because like with the TV license, it pays for the BBC. You get a demonstrable extra thing for it. Whereas with the fishing license, like you sort of don't really. Everyone gets to use the rivers, or the canals, or whatever, like it's waterways, right? It's just in order to fish, you need to pay the extra money for it. It's pathetic. Honestly, I genuinely think it's like a symbol of how cucked we are as a people. That we'll just accept this shit. Like in France, if they try and add an extra fortnight onto the retirement age, Paris is in flames. Whereas in Britain, they can like get you to have to sign up and show a passport photo so you can have a fucking wank. Jesus fucking Christ. You need a license for your TV, a license to go fishing, you need a fucking passport to vote, you need a passport to have a wank, you need a passport now to go for a fucking piss or shit. Like, am I a man or a document? Ugh, anyway. Thank you, Over the Historian with Biddy Bits. Much love to you. You're old. Okay, well if you're old, I'll leave you to it. That's fair. Not enough for a hat. Well, apparently it doesn't matter how much you pay, you never get the hat. I am still sans hat. Bereft of bowler, is the Kev. Thank you everyone for this very successful hype train. Honestly, I am going to finger the ever-loving shit out of Hermann Goering, which is definitely a thing that's possible, because his corpse definitely still exists. It doesn't. I am not a number. I love The Prisoner. The Prisoner was a great series. And I love the way it ends. And I don't think I have to do spoiler alert for a series that ended in 1978 or something, do I? The fact that the thing that was keeping him prisoner, when he rips the face off it, and it's himself looking back. Whoa! Fuck me. That must have blown minds when that first came on. Like, now it would be kind of hackneyed and kind of bullshit, but like at the time, that was fire.
No, he recently said told Billy Joel he wants to write a song. I think basically reading between the lines about being a pedophile. So I think basically
I have to defend Bill Maher's honor. Bill was just telling Billy Joel, and just in general, you pitching songs to Billy Joel. Not something I would do, but I don't really like Billy Joel. So anyway, different strokes for different folks. But Bill Maher, the pitch was kind of like, I want to do a song about how it's unfair to impugn an older man who falls in love with a younger woman. I don't have it in front of me. And so, God bless him. I think we all know where he's going with that. I don't think
he's a pederast, yeah.
It was pedophilia. I think it was.
Oh, it's just a febophilia.
That he's unapologetic.
It's just a febophilia. It's totally different and fine.
About. So that's my defense.
Well, this is not a take on Bill Maher. This is a take on Laura Loomer. So we're going to keep it going. So she sits down for this deposition. They're talking a bit about a bunch of things. Among them is just sort of what she feels like was cost.
Oh, Spurs are so Spursy. Holy shit, I didn't even check on that game. Tottenham Hotspur in the UEFA Super Cup, so like the European Charity Shield, I guess. They were 2-0 up with 5 minutes to go and drew 2-2 and have now got to penalties. God, they're so Spursy. They just never stop Spursing. Fuck yes. They're even when they're good, they're shit. It's lovely stuff. Oh. Honestly, they've never Spursed as hard as this for a long time. Glorious. They'll probably win the penalties as well. That's the thing.
And by Bill Maher, like the cost she endured. And Tim, I'm going to come to you here because you've been in this world. You probably at one point had visions of being a White House press secretary. I think you wrote about it. She thought she could have been Donald Trump's version of Jen Psaki or Karine Jean-Pierre. No question.
Stranger things have happened. I mean, they just picked up a guy to make him the commissioner of labor statistics, who I think previously was doing like poo drawings on a piece of paper that said Mr. Trump great. So, you know, I mean, it's not a competitive set really getting into the Trump administration. So Laura, I don't know if, I think Laura's going to...
Your stepdad and brother are at the game. And your late granddad, stepdad's dad, is from Udine. That's a very, very specific... That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Kev, when Brom City into European competitions, the last time we got into a European competition was 2011, after we won the League Cup. Yeah. And we did really well. We honestly had... I think we got... I can't even remember how many points it was in the group stage of what was then the Euro... was it still the UEFA Cup, or was it Euro? It must have been Europa, I think. Yeah, but we still went out on goal difference, which is rather upsetting. But there we go. A young Chris Wood scored a winner away at Club Bruges. Absolutely glorious days.
A lot of skills. I don't know if White House press secretary was in her future. I don't. By the way, as I wrote, I don't know that it was in my future. It was a dream, but
as friends Rust, I already heard that Donnarumma had signed a pre-agreement with City. I thought that was like a done thing. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think he's that great. Not to say he's bad necessarily, but like if you're signing on a free. Then yeah, you're probably paying a lot of wages for a guy he's not as good as Edison, for sure.
People who have come to know me on YouTube, I don't really have a good poker face, just not a great skill set for a press secretary, so I don't think it was in my path either. So I don't think either me or Laura were going there, but her claim in this deposition, I guess, is that had Bill not impugned her by suggesting she's sleeping with Trump, I have thoughts on that as well, she would have been on this path to White House press secretary, to then a show on Fox, I guess the Dana Perino model maybe I would have gone with instead of Jen Psaki, and then to boards. Who knows? She could have run
to
the
corporate
Trump
boards. Yeah.
That's what she said.
Yeah, she basically says, like, you know, I would cash in. You know, I mean, I'm going to get on these boards. I'll get...
I ain't no brum yummy yam yam. Oh, okay. Do you understand, Bonky Boy, what they meant by yam yam? Because I can't explain if you didn't. It just means a person from the black country, which again for Americans is not a racial thing. It's to do with the coal soot from the Industrial Revolution that covered the area.
Get a foundation. I'll get a book deal. I'll get a cable news show. And this was all cost to her supposedly by Bill's kind of offhanded remark.
I do love the fact that she's like, I would have absolutely played the insider.
Okay, I should reiterate, as friends Rust, he's not as good as Edison has been in the past.
Game and like, you know, reaped as many rewards from it as possible if I had the opportunity to do it. Like, not hiding it. I was gonna go through that revolving door, and I was going to go through it well. So
to speak.
Wait, you wanted to add something about
I did. Well, so just
sleeping with her thing
again, I know you said this wasn't a Bill Maher take, but he is kind of central to the story. Bill makes the joke about how she's sleeping with Trump. He wasn't the only one. This was out there. I'll just say, and it's important to pull back the curtain here. I have many people who have reached out to me with that same theory or idea that Laura Loomer was sleeping with Donald Trump. And maybe it's the fact that Laura Loomer did come to my defense when Carrie Lake attacked me at a Phoenix bar and de-escalated. Maybe I'm a little more sympathetic to her than I should otherwise be. I don't know. I do appreciate her de-escalation there. But I think, here's what I think. I've spent probably too much brain power on this. I don't think Donald Trump's dick works anymore, I guess is what I'm saying. I don't think his dick works, and
There are pills for that now.
I feel like if it did, we would know about it.
Sorry, what?
I mean, he's not good at secrets.
What are you talking about?
He's not good at secrets. He has a decades-long career of sexual harassment and misconduct and assault, and he's on audio talking about how he just goes up to women, and he kisses them, and he grabs them. And I found it interesting that since becoming president, you don't really hear stories like that. And I find
just to be clear, you think the president of the United States
dick doesn't work?
Should I know, but you think that he in a universe where his dick did work, you think Donald Trump would be outwardly bragging?
Is it raining? Why does it sound like it's raining? Have I got fucking tinnitus? I think I might be going mad.
About his dick working? I just
think we would hear from women that are talking about Trump being Trump. I just don't think a dog changes his tricks. You know, like he's an old dog.
I'm gonna have to disagree respectfully with this one.
Your hometown, they're called the Biscuit Boys. What fucking town are you from? What is the Biscuit Boys? Am I about to dox you? I suppose I am. The first book of a brilliant burst, Black Country frontman, blah blah blah. What? The Biscuit Boys. My head hurts. I don't care. My head hurts.
So let me just go back to the theory. The theory of the case being offered by the Laura Loomer and Donald Trump are having an affair, people, is that Donald Trump becomes the most powerful man in the world in 2016. He has a lifetime record of just being a total hound dog, like a debauched hound dog at best. It's the nicest thing you could say about his treatment of women. And he gets in there, he gets in the White House. Melania's gone a lot. He's alone. And the one person he has an affair with is Laura Loomer? That's the story?
I didn't say that. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm saying I'm not just saying. I don't think even if you were having a affair.
That's all I'm saying. I'm on Laura Loomer's side of it. I'm not. I don't think there should be a defamation suit on this, but just on the merits of the story, I'm not buying that story. You're gonna have to sell me on a different, better conspiracy than this.
This is why they call us the Fingering Trio. We will agree to disagree on that one.
Oh, Reading. Oh, I've never heard them called Biscuit Boys. Yeah, the Monkey Hangers is a great story. Yeah. Which is Hartlepool. Supposedly, and I don't even know if this is really true, but supposedly during the Napoleonic Wars, a French warship sailed near Hartlepool and was found, and the only thing on board was a monkey. And so the people of Hartlepool, which is in the northeast of England, put the monkey on trial and executed it. They literally hanged a monkey. And so they're literally known as the Monkey Hangers. And the mascot for Hartlepool Town is literally called Hangus the Monkey. Like Angus, but it's Hangus the Monkey. And it's a man inside a monkey costume. The monkey was a French spy, clearly, and so they hanged it for his crimes of being a French spy or something. Mad. Fucking mad shit. People are fucking mental. But it's good to see that it's not like just modern people that are mental. They've always been fucking, like, you know. The monkey was actually Spanish. Well, clearly then, if he was hanged as a French spy and he was Spanish, clearly miscarriage of justice. We should... I mean, look, this is why I'm against the death penalty, right? Because you can't take it back. You can't right that wrong. But what you can do is posthumously pardon, exonerate, and apologise to that Spanish monkey. Senor Moncarino needs to know, and his descendants need to know, that he wasn't guilty. Okay? His name has been smeared for centuries by those allegations. I'm trying to get my stupid out before we start talking about the Holocaust. I need to get it off my chest and get it out of the way so we can be like serious.
Much to think about, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely might not edit
Well,
that
you
one
got
out.
the logic pattern there didn't work for you.
No, we're gonna move on because there's parts of this transcript of the deposition that I just want to read and get reactions to, because they're going back and forth. And as Will notes in his piece, which people should read, several pages of the deposition are taken up by Loomer's September 2024 claim that her arch enemy, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, has Arby's in her pants. I don't know. I'm not gonna be able to make it through this.
Like
First of all,
I think that's a reference to roast beef. A roast beef sandwich. I think she might be referring to her... Is it labia majora? I don't know how she knows what the particular topography of the Georgia representative is, but, you know. It's a claim. Would the woman who ate dog food live on camera for money, would you trust her with the kind of reporting cojones to know the fact, okay, and to report it? I certainly would. The labia majori. The labia majori. Okay, that kind of works.
oh,
The roast beef burglar.
We're gonna get to that. Well, why are they arch enemies? Can you just set the stage before I try to read this?
MTG did a potato print. That is what? That's a visceral image. A potato print. Oh no. That is seared into my mind now. I don't know that I can ever get past that. And of course, Spurs, having been 2-0 up with 5 minutes left, have lost the European Super Cup final. Dude, it doesn't matter because it's not the end of the world. It's a fucking pre-season game, basically. But like, that's so Spurs. Fucking Christ. Ange Postecoglou was not your problem, okay? I mean, don't get me wrong, he was a problem. What's the crime? Playing aggressively shite football? Get your hand off my penis!
Transcript without dying.
I mean, briefly, this is like a years-long feud, but basically, like, I think fundamentally Laura just like really hates other conservative women. I mean, I think like the nastiness she displays towards them is like a pretty unique part of her personality. But basically, I think she doesn't like that there's this other prominent conservative woman. Also, Milo Yiannopoulos at one point worked for Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Laura and Milo have had a very bitter falling out. And so I think Marjorie kind of like was added on to that feud.
I'm sorry, I must interject here really briefly, since you mentioned Milo, that after...
He did Ange Postecoglou did exceptional work with Celtic, but he was awful at Tottenham. To be fair, they had a lot of injuries, but still.
Later in the evening, after I had another drink at this MAGA cocktail hour where I was accosted by Carrie Lake, when I asked Laura, I went up to her a little later and I was like, why did you intervene on my behalf? And she said, there's another homosexual at this party I have my sights on. And then she ended up getting up in Milo's grill. And like they started screaming at each other in a different corner of the bar.
I'm sorry. What does that mean? She can only go, she has to even the ledger?
I didn't ask any follow-up questions.
If I'm going to go after one homo, I got to protect the other homo.
Yeah. I didn't ask any follow-ups. I wasn't going to mention it, but since Milo came up, I felt like it was important context.
All right. I'm going to try to get through this. I don't know how far I'm going to get. I'm going to just read from the piece here. Loomer was referencing Marjorie Taylor Greene's alleged affair with a man who once dressed up as a Street Fighter character. This is all real, okay? It's clear that Loomer, Real Rights was making a pejorative reference when she said Arby's in your pants, popular on the right to the anatomy of promiscuous women, what Tim was discussing.
I wasn't discussing anything. I called it the roast beef burglar, like the Hamburglar. It was a play on McDonald's.
Fair enough. Yeah, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
The Hamburglar.
All right. But in the deposition, Loomer apparently couldn't admit that was her reference point. She instead pretended that she meant Green actually puts
Fuck off. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Oh no, I actually meant she puts fast food down her knickers. No one believes it. There's just such lying bastards about everything.
Arby's roast beef.
Should Will read the transcript? We might have to ask Will to read the transcript. Will, could you read the transcript for us?
No, I got it. Let's see how far I can go.
Okay.
Arby's roast beef sandwiches in her pants. Here's just a small portion of the roast beef exchange. Bolger, this is the HBO lawyer. So what is your basis for saying...
I think Will should do it.
Well, go for it.
All right. Real quick here. Let me pull this out.
Wait, I got it. So what is the basis for saying she had Arby's in her pants? Loomer, because I know she likes to eat at Arby's. Bolger, and she likes to put it in her pants? You know that? Loomer, yeah. Bolger, she puts Arby's in her pants? Loomer, yeah, she does. Bolger, okay. If I asked Marjorie Taylor Greene, she would tell you that she puts Arby's in her pants? Loomer, it's my best belief that she would tell you that.
It's my best belief. She doesn't even sound like a real person.
Yes. Bolger. Okay, are you making a derogatory comment about her sex life by talking about Arby's in her pants? This is a fucking court transcript. Loomer, no, I'm talking about Arby's sandwiches. I'm talking about Arby's. I'm a very direct person. If I was making a derogatory comment, I would have said it.
If I was making a derogatory comment, I would have called it
this is the best
double
part.
beef and cheddar.
Yes, this is the best part. As Will writes, not helping her case, Loomer tweeted the roast beef insult again today, that would be Monday, asking Greene's boyfriend, right-wing reporter Brian Glenn, quote, how does it feel to eat Arby's every day?
Oh no.
My God, what the hell is wrong?
I don't know. I don't understand could you explain the reference to me there? Why would that be sexual? Maybe Brian Glenn also likes,
I mean, look, I encourage
he
people
likes
to
the
look,
curly fries.
Go to Urban Dictionary. I mean, it is really crazy that she's doing this thing about acting like the sandwich is in the pants and then just saying, but there's no greater meaning here. That's all I can say about it. And the lawyer at one point is just like you're a coward. Like, why won't you just say what you mean? And Laura's like, what? It gets very tense.
I mean, she literally is saying she stuffs an Arby's roast beef sandwich in her pants. It makes no sense at all.
When was the last time you had Arby's, sure. Stan?
I'm not an Arby's guy. I probably have had it once or twice.
Really?
What's their tagline? Something the meats. I forget what it is called, but
we got the meats. We got the meats. And at one point in the transcripts, Laura's lawyer just says, "Where's the meat?" Kind of is joking around.
That's
all right.
fine. If anybody's from St. Louis out there, a Lion's Choice is the place to go if you're actually looking for a roast beef sandwich in the real sense, not in the Brian Glenn going out to lunch with his girlfriend sense.
Loomer, back to her. She, as Will notes, this is like maybe the grossest she's gotten, but it's not like totally out of character. She at one point declared that Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker wanted to flash his penis at women, and yet here she is at the height of her powers, arguably taking more scalps than anyone in the industry, than the journalism industry. How do you reckon that, Will?
I think it's, how do I reckon it? I don't know. We live in hell. I mean, as you said, I mean, this can come off as very like why are we talking about this, person who's the roast beef and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I think it heightens and sort of underlines the way the government is run now, where you have someone like this who just in the past 2 weeks, she got the guy who's in charge of vaccines at the FDA fired, though now he's back. She got the top lawyer at the NSA fired, and now the big thing is she's going after this Medal of Honor winner who got his leg nearly blown off when he tackled a suicide bomber. And she said, well, this guy spoke, at the Democratic convention. The Army should basically blacklist this guy.
Secretary of Army, is she also going after the Secretary of the Army right now?
Yeah, because he gave this guy the award.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
That
it's a lot of scalps. And I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene has her own power as well. Been seeing a lot of strange new respect out there in the world for Marjorie Taylor Greene. Though she was also, did you not do do we not do the tweet where she called her a Jezebel yesterday? Didn't that?
Jezebel spirit.
I want to pull that one up. Ayers Loomer tweeting yesterday. I'm going to read it. I wish at Rep MTG, that'd be Marjorie Taylor Greene, got on her knees for her Lord and Savior as much as she got on her knees for men who aren't her husband. Just another fake Christian. Can you call yourself a Christian when your mouth is full? Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. When your mouth is full of other men's cock? Question mark. I may be
It's a good
Jewish,
question.
but at least I'm not a Jezebel.
One of your people.
What's with the self-hating Jew bit at the end? What? I may be Jewish, as if that's a bad thing, but at least I'm not a whore. Which, by the way, she was sucking Donald Trump's penis.
Well, Sam, well, is he Jewish? Marjorie,
You know Donald Trump, the married man who's also a pederast? Yeah, that guy.
This woman has kind of, I think probably kind of a pretty mild reply from MTG. She replied, she has no, Laura Loomer viciously attacks those of us who are President Trump's most loyal, original MAGA supporters. She has no long-term relationships because she psychotically turns on everyone. Laura Loomer is the most unstable person and worst liability to ever walk into the Oval Office.
What about Loomer's tweets suggest instability?
I think that's interesting. And worst ever the Oval Office, that means worse than anyone in the Biden crime family, quote unquote, Worse than, I don't know, did Bill Ayers ever walk? Worse than anybody. Wow. MTG. It's getting
there is a little bit of strange new respect for MTG, I suppose.
Not in my quarters, but
yeah, okay, we've had enough of this. We've had some fun with the roast beef. So we've tackled the heavy stuff for the evening. Now we're going to get on to the not too heavy material, okay? I watched this video already, which is rare for me. I don't usually pre-watch stuff, but I wasn't planning on showing this. But it was so good that I thought I had to show it. Now, it's not visually the most compelling thing in the world. It's very simple in that respect. But it is, I think, one of the most well-scripted and performed pieces of genuine content I've ever seen on this platform. And so, huzzah! It's about the Nuremberg trials. It's not too heavy. It's fine.
The most famous trials were those held in
Nuremberg. It's the 14th largest city in Germany. It has a reconstructed 1,000-year-old castle, some lovely-looking canals, a number of fine dining options. But recently, when I've looked at a person presiding over an act of unimaginable cruelty and thought, they need to be Nuremberged, I'm not referring to a Bavarian vacation. This is not a thought I'm particularly...
He's talking about Benjamin Netanyahu, in case you didn't get that.
Happy about having. It's not a historically informed thought, really. Almost more of a pick, an impulse. I see something, some decision made, some photo op performed that seems motivated by such vicious inhumanity that my brain, reeling, searches back to find some instance, any instance of political justice, of punishment, of consequence, of someone not getting away with it. And in that semi-staggered state, I latched onto Nuremberg, specifically the Nuremberg trials after World War II. It's a historical event I knew very little about. I only really knew the outcome. A bunch of Nazis are put on trial for their crimes against humanity. A bunch of Nazis are found guilty. A bunch of Nazis get hanged. In a way, the haziness of my understanding helped make this an appealing target to point to.
Yeah, people don't really tend to understand a lot of things in detail, unfortunately. And I'm probably guilty of that myself as well.
Without getting bogged down in facts and details, Nuremberg could just exist as an idea to me, an actual representation of that elusive feeling of justice. I can even brush aside its obvious contradictions with my own ideology, including the fact that I am notably opposed to capital punishment.
Currently managed by Miroslav Klose. I think you mean leading World Cup goal scorer of all time, Miroslav Klose.
By leaving it so uninvestigated, Nuremberg remained a fantasy, a vague notion that one day history's villains will be held to task for the monsters they create.
Did you hit on the trials in your... Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We studied the Nuremberg trials. No, most notably, actually, it's worth looking into not just the initial trial, but those afterwards at both Nuremberg itself and at the Dachau concentration camp.
But historical fantasies are no place to take refuge in. Some loose sense of prior justice serves no purpose without a deeper understanding. And so, over the past several months, I have read and read and read about the Nuremberg trials. I've read contemporaneous reporting and modern retrospectives. Over this period, I've been a really fun guy to spend time with and had really normal conversations.
What I will say to you, champ, is that is my entire existence. Okay? You have merely taken a day trip to the edge of my universe. That's how I live. I will be at a family function, they'll be talking about something normal, and I'll be like, I don't know, I read about the fucking Spanish Civil War, and so I start talking about, you know, the battle for Huesca, or whatever, you know, just fucking... fucking psycho. I've watched this already, depressing as fuck. It is quite depressing, Phil Decker, you're quite right. I thought it was superb.
And on the other side of my research, the Nuremberg trials no longer exist as a fantasy to me. They are an immensely complicated historical phenomena, quite impressive in some ways, and yet deeply flawed in many others. At the conclusion of his tome, Nuremberg: Infamy on Trial, Joseph Persico adapts a quote by scientist Thomas Huxley. The example of Nuremberg, Persico writes, was a beautiful idea murdered by a gang of ugly facts. It's a striking note to leave us on. Which parts of the idea were beautiful? Do those facts puncture its concept or, forgive me, its execution? And in 2025, what does it mean to yearn for Nuremberg? Nuremberg's history within World War II started far before the trials. Beginning in 1923, the city was home to the Nuremberg rallies, massive campaign and propaganda events for the Nazi Party. It was in Nuremberg that Leni Riefenstahl filmed Triumph of the Will, one of the most famous propaganda films of all time. It was during one of these rallies that the Nazis passed the Nuremberg Laws, which stripped Jews, and shortly after blacks and Romani, of their rights and declared each group enemies of the race-based state. The Nazis chose Nuremberg to begin with as part of their historical myth-making effort. The city had previously been a crucial part of the Holy Roman Empire, a gathering place for the Reichstag, and even pre-World War II carried out several pogroms against its Jewish population. On the back of this history, the Nazis promised to build Germany's greatest empire. Instead, the city was blown to bits. During the war, the Allies dropped thousands upon thousands of bombs on Nuremberg. In a survey afterwards, the U.S. described the city as 91% destroyed.
rubbish. Those are rookie numbers. 91%. We could do so much better. What happened to that 9%, lads? Phoning it in that day, were we? Embarrassing.
It literally stank from thousands of bodies trapped beneath the rubble. But, in a feat of great historical irony, one of the few buildings still standing was Nuremberg's massive courthouse and its attached jail. A courthouse, a site of supposed justice among the ruins. The city had provided the infrastructure for the next chapter of its history. That's not to say everyone agreed that the Nazis should be given a formal trial. FDR and Churchill had both, at different points in time, leaned towards immediate, summary executions of Nazi leaders.
And indeed the Soviet leaders did as well.
Henry Morgenthau, the U.S.'s Treasury Secretary, suggested, in addition to shooting leaders on sight, that they exile Nazi Party members a la Napoleon while using POWs to completely strip Germany of its industry and return it to an agrarian society.
Yeah, that was a mad plan.
And if nothing else, why not at least try the Nazis outside of Germany? Luxembourg, for example, could host the trials, a neutral territory not shattered by aerial bombing nor clouded by the stench of death. But eventually, the US, UK, France, and the Soviet Union agreed the answer would be trials, they would be legitimate, and they would be in Germany. The chief American prosecutor, Robert Jackson, felt that German criminality...
Who I think was he a serving senator at the time as well, if I recall. Fuck. Or was he not a senator, was he on the Supreme Court or something like that? He was some bigwig anyway. They didn't just send over like a random lawyer.
...must be tried in its home country. He said that it was massively significant that 4 great nations, flushed with victory and stung with injury, stay the hand of vengeance and voluntarily submit their captive enemies to the judgment
Supreme
of
Court,
the law.
That was it, yeah.
Many also hoped that the trials would reveal the scale of the Nazi horrors to both the German people and the world. Telford Taylor, an American prosecutor, envisioned the trials as classrooms which would quash any German political or cultural tendencies to whitewash the Third Reich.
And thankfully that did happen, and no one in Germany has ever downplayed the Holocaust ever again. Kill me.
This idea of a classroom, while not as broadly retributive as returning Germany to an agrarian society, still raises one of the most important questions of the trials. That is, were they just for show? A classroom seems to represent a predetermined outcome, not an even...
No, this is the thing, right? They clearly weren't just for show. There were elements of it which were insufficient, I think you can say, as a actual legal proceeding. Which he goes into some of these later on, but you know, the idea of charging someone for which a crime that is under a new law, so retroactively assigning criminality to a thing that wasn't illegal at the time it happened. So there was no such thing as a crime against humanity. That didn't exist. They made it up and then charged these people with things that happened before the law was a thing, right? Which is legally a very tricky thing to fucking pull off, you know? So there were issues with it, but it clearly wasn't a show trial, because for a start off, I think it was 3 or 4 of the individuals got off completely, like literally were exonerated, were found not guilty on any of the 4 main charges, and so were released. Which is not something that tends to happen in show trials, is it? Really? And then I think there was only about half of them were actually executed, which means that, you know, about half were not. They received pretty light sentences, actually. Only one, this is genuinely true, of every single Nazi who was put in prison after the war, and there were hundreds, right, that served some amount of time in prison, only one of them actually served a life sentence. One. That was Rudolf Hess. He killed himself in 1989 or something, I think it was. because he had cancer and he knew he was going to die painfully, so he hanged himself. He had a shed. They allowed him to keep a shed at Spandau prison in Berlin. He had a little shed in the garden there, and he killed himself. So literally, one of them paid the actual price. One. Fucking mental. So yeah, I don't think you can realistically say it was a show trial, because show trials don't allow, don't allow you to pick your own lawyer for a start off, do they? Show trials don't often give you access to all of the documentation that your prosecutors will present. You know, these are proper. It was a proper attempt, at the very least, to do a proper trial. Again, imperfect, but very. Oh, this is just a bit offensive, I think. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am a fat cunt, but this is offensive to Buddhists, isn't it? Do they wish to see their god depicted in this fashion? I don't think so. I mean, it is funny, to be fair, but, you know.
Balance of power. Also not representative of an even balance of power, the victor of a war occupying the loser's country. This was one of the biggest criticisms of the trials, both while they happened and in the decades since.
Is Buddha not a god? I don't fucking know what they do. Well, he's a religious figure of significance, isn't he? He's a person for whom reverence is usually shown.
How could they possibly be fair? Would this just be a show trial, essentially a punishment levied against the Germans for losing the war? But in all my research, what's continually surprised me is the overwhelming fairness, borderline leniency, that the Nazi defendants were treated with. In the first and most famous of the Nuremberg trials, 24 men were charged by the newly formed International Military Tribunal, or IMT. Each defendant was allowed to choose his own lawyer. The IMT, in fact, paid for these lawyers, who were often themselves Nazis. The lawyers were given complete access to the prosecutor's documents, much as they would be in a typical domestic trial, as well as secretaries, stenographers, translation services, and virtually unlimited time with their clients. One aide remarked that they wished the average defendant in an American court had access to the type of assistance given to the Nazis. In court, the Nazis were allowed to enter virtually any material as defense, including thousands of pages of philosophy that had to be translated for everyone in the court. Prosecutors were prevented from...
Into 4 different... No. Yeah, no, 4 different languages, yeah. Every document had to be translated, well, into 3 different languages, if that makes sense, but 4 in total. So, German, Soviet, French, and English. All of them. Either by hand or typewritten. That's a ridiculous undertaking. When, considering the material, having to type that up was probably a bit harrowing.
From cutting off the defendants' responses, turning what should have been hard-hitting interrogations into opportunities for the Nazis to wax rhapsodic about their lives and virtues. Each defendant was allowed hours, even days, to regale the court with their own life.
Okay, Russian, you know what I mean? For the benefit of the Soviet delegation into Russian. Presumably they didn't do it into Kazakh and Uzbek and Georgian or whatever, you know.
Life stories. And at the end of the trial, multiple men were fully acquitted. The larger issue with the trials, from a legal standpoint, wasn't how the defendants were treated, it was the trial's very premise. No matter the defense resources given to the Nazis on trial, the fact remained that the categories of crimes the defendants were charged with, including crimes against peace and crimes against humanity, were created for the Nuremberg trials. Some argued it was unfair to retroactively charge the Nazis with newly created laws. There are a couple counters to this claim, though. Germany had previously signed several international pacts outlawing war, treaties from The Hague and Geneva about the rules of warfare, and peace agreements with Poland and the Soviet Union. This was where the charge of crimes against peace came from, as well as the definitions of the many war crimes committed
That's
by the
actually
German
really
army.
interesting, 255. Fucking hell.
Crimes against humanity was not drawn from previously agreed upon treaties, however. It is a category at once more legally tenuous and more morally obvious. The IMT defined crimes against humanity as the, and I quote, murder, extermination, enslavement, deportation, and other inhumane acts committed against any civilian population.
Which, if we just take a look at this for a second, this is where you get into some morally iffy areas of the countries in question, that being the United Kingdom, the United States, France, and the Soviet Union, right? The four powers of the military tribunal. Name me any one of those four that isn't guilty of those things. Now, doing the, well, you did it too, is not a defence. We all know that's not a fucking defence. We're all taught that as a child. You can't just point to the other kid and go, well, he did it. Doesn't matter. You just mean you have to do it. If he jumped off a cliff, would you jump off as well? Sort of thing, you know? But name me any one of those four that were innocent of this description. The British Empire had just gotten past starving to death 4 million in West Bengal, let alone its other colonial crimes. France had done unbelievable damage in what was called French Indochina, and indeed its African colonies as well. The Soviet Union had done the Holodomor and the fucking purges and all kinds of crazy shit. And America had killed everyone. There used to be entire groups of people in the United States, the First Nations peoples, who don't exist anymore functionally. So, you know, in terms of murder and extermination, deportation, did someone say Trail of Tears? You know. Like this, come on now. France only left its African colonies last year. France will never leave its African colonies. France has decided fully that it's just going to continue to fuck around with those colonies forever. It might not be boots on the ground like it was in Algeria. That's another point. They're about to start a fucking brutal campaign in Algeria not too long into the future as well. Mad. Anyway, but like they still fuck around with all of those countries. If you have a vaguely anti-French government, you're about to get some liberation, you know. They're very much like they're very like America when they find oil. They're very interested if there's any kind of anti-Frenchness anywhere.
Or persecutions on political, racial, or religious grounds qualified as crimes against humanity, quote, whether or not in violation of the domestic law of the country where perpetrated. The IMT stated that even if technically...
Yeah, Miss Giggles, that's also true. Yeah, they did charge the Germans with the Katyn massacre, which the Soviet Union had done. And this is not surprising, given that the judge, whose name I've totally fucking forgotten, very annoying, that was the head judge from the Soviet Union that was sent to be part of the tribunal's main panel, to the top table, was literally the head judge at the Moscow trials as well. Which actually were show trials, where people were predetermined to be guilty and had been tortured and would be found guilty and would be executed as things they had not done. And he was sent as the Soviet Union's best representative of its legal profession. Yeah.
Legal within a country, these horrors could not be allowed. In a refreshing break from legalese, Prosecutor Jackson said, let's not be derailed by legal hair splitters. Aren't murder, torture, and enslavement crimes recognized by all civilized people? What we propose is to punish acts which have been regarded as criminal since the time of Cain and have been so written in every civilized code.
Yeah, here we go. That's the lad. Iona Nitichenko. Major General Iona Timofeyevich Nitichenko, who only died in 1967, was a Russian judge who served on the Supreme Court of the Soviet Union. He later served on the International Military Tribunal during the Nuremberg trials. As chairman of the Military Collegium of the Supreme Court of the Soviet Union, Nitichenko presided over some of the most notorious of Joseph Stalin's show trials during the Great Purges, and notably sentenced Lev Kamenev and Grigory Zinoviev, and then went on to be the head representative for the Soviet Union at the Nuremberg trials. Which, you know, if I was one of the defendants, I think I'd make a bigger deal of that than they actually did. One thing you notice when looking through all of this is how little the defendants tried to defend themselves. Not to say they didn't deny that they were involved or to deny they had knowledge of it, but they didn't really go into like how they were innocent or anything. They just sort of told their life stories and tried to sort of make themselves appear less like wankers, but they weren't really doing defence as such. It was very, very strange trial, which is not surprising. It was the first of its kind in history, you know.
There's a sense of natural law in this explanation, of some things being so base and self-evident that they needn't to be spelled out for us to know them. It's an easy idea to understand, as Jackson said, regarded as criminal since the time of Cain. It is the innate gut reflex of morality that there are actions that cannot be allowed no matter the letter of the law. And yet, this was a fraught concept to introduce to a court in 1945. The Allies had, of course, killed many civilians over the course of World War II. The trials took place in a city still stinking from people buried under the rubble. Before the end of the year, Americans would drop the largest bombs ever created on urban centers. Moreover, many other crimes against humanity perpetrated by the members of the IMT were still within living memory, including British colonialism and the American racial hierarchy that had explicitly inspired Nazi eugenics.
Yeah, you literally still had, look, literally, the armed forces that protected the very city in which this was taking place, that being the American armed forces, were segregated. You literally had all black units, always with a white officer, of course. You can't have a black officer, that'd be terrible. You literally had Jim Crow and segregation, still, in America. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I think it's the perfect encapsulation of the nonsense, right? 1936, Berlin Olympics, right? One of the greatest sporting and human feats, I think, in human history. Jesse Owens, a black man, an unbelievably talented physical athlete, one of the most prime specimens of humanity on the planet, goes there and wins 4 gold medals. Right? Outstanding. Literally stares down Nazi hatred and shows that their racial hierarchy theories are fucking bullshit. A statement for humanity for the ages. Beautiful. He goes back to the United States and they host a celebration dinner in his honor at Radio City Hall in New York City. Prestigious. Honor. What an honor. But because he's a black man, he can't get into the elevator to go to the ballroom of that building where they're hosting the dinner in his honor. So he has to take the freight elevator with trays of food to the top of the building, with trays of food for the dinner being given in his honor in New York City to celebrate the defeat of bigotry. And then one of the most horrific things, later on in his career, because he gets blacklisted, because you can't have a good example of a black guy or anything like that, he ends up, and they were amateurs, right? You couldn't be a professional and be in the Olympic Games. He was seen as unsporting. You couldn't have professionals. And so he had no fucking money. And so he took to going to state fairs and racing against horses. So the horse would he'd have a certain head start against the horse, and then people would bet on it, and he gets a cut for appearing. And it's the great Jesse Owens who's famous. And a journalist asks him at one of these events. He said, "Do you not find it demeaning and beneath you as an Olympic athlete, as an Olympic gold medal winner, an Olympic champion, to be racing against horses?" And he simply turned to the journalist and said, "Yeah, I've got 4 gold medals, but I can't feed my children gold medals." Which is just fucking heartbreaking. And it's so fucking true. As if you can take a national hero like that and treat him like fucking dirt, like shit. From the moment he won to the moment of his death. He had very little ever. He had some nice words written about him. He was famous, to be sure. But he had an unbelievably grim life. Far more grim than the Nazis he defeated on the fucking track and in the pit. When they fucked off to Argentina and lived the high life with their looted gold. There's your justice.
The solution,
again, we're not getting too heavy tonight. This is the not heavy bit of the show.
To this problem within Nuremberg was blunt. The IMT decided the trials would not allow tu quoque, or what about you?
I have seen that. Who sent the link? I can't give a duck, yes. I think I've mentioned it on the stream in passing before.
Defenses. The Nazis on trial would not be allowed to say, well, you did this too, as justification for their actions. It makes sense as a kind of legal necessity. Jackson pointed out that it implied, if some murderers go free, all must go free. But that particular defense, being barred from court, was also a tacit admission in the fallibility of the prosecuting countries. If said countries had recognized civilian torture, slavery, murder, and deportation as criminal since the time of Cain, why was it so easy to tu quoque them in the first place? I guess let's talk about who was in that first most notable trial. Or maybe we'll talk about who wasn't there. The award for the most notable missing guest would probably go to Adolf Hitler, who rinsed out his head with a bullet earlier in 1945. Also absent, head of the SS Himmler and chief propagandist Goebbels, who had followed their leader by offing them.
And there was one very strange addition to the 24, who was just like an underling of Goebbels at the propaganda ministry, who like obviously couldn't have been guilty of the crimes for which he was charged, but essentially was there as a stand-in for Goebbels, really. Which is fucking stupid, because that was obviously always going to lead to innocent, because like he couldn't have done any of these things. He wasn't high enough up in the hierarchy at all, you know. Very, very strange decision.
And Holocaust architect Adolf Eichmann, who had temporarily escaped to Argentina.
Watch this space.
Finally, 2 of the men originally intended to be tried at Nuremberg, Leonardo...
No, Stryker. Stryker wasn't... technically, he wasn't even a public official. He was a member of the Nazi Party, yes, and an editor of a newspaper, but he wasn't... didn't have any governmental role.
Ponty and Robert Ley managed to kill themselves in jail before the trials. The problem of captured Nazis killing themselves was treated seriously. The IMT was determined to create a suicide-less jail. Every defendant was watched around the clock. Guards in the jails instructed to literally never take their eyes off the prisoners. And yet, they failed in this task more than once. This failure prompts strange questions about the very notion of justice sought by the IMT. Wasn't the end result of this trial the execution of a bunch of Nazis? Is it such a failure that multiple of them skipped straight to the finale? Well, yes, because the trials were not summary executions, and the goal was not simply a dead Nazi. In an ideal world, the trials would end with true admissions of guilt. The prosecutor having perfectly proven the crimes of each defendant, the Nazis would be forced to face a mirror and recognize the monstrosity of their participation in the Reich. Suicide within a jail cell made that admission impossible.
Yes and no. Of course, in a very literal sense, yes, they can't admit any guilt in the courtroom. And they can't realistically carry on being charged because they're dead. So what kind of defence can they put up? And therefore, what kind of prosecution can be had? Let alone the waste of time and effort in charging a dead person, you know? Otherwise, you might as well have put Hitler on trial. He was dead as well. But in a way, is it not also itself a tacit admission of a certain guilt? If you believe yourself to be running a fair trial, and to be showing yourself to be running a fair trial, the fact that they have taken this route out is itself a tacit admission of guilt. That they know that the noose awaits them. I think you can definitely view it that way. They were fucking cowards. They knew what they were doing. You can't be doing this after the fact. And that's why I say, look, I don't think that people who commit suicide are cowards or anything like that. I think there are a plethora of reasons why people would want to take the ultimate decision. But if you're stuck in a jail cell, awaiting your deserved fate at the end of a rope, and you do yourself in, that's cowardice of the most rank kind.
But if what you wanted was self-reflection by the Nazis, you weren't likely to find a lot of satisfaction in the trials anyway. 22 of those first slate of defendants lived long enough to make it to trial. Some were politicians or ministers, some were military leaders, and some were just prominent members of the party. It was an interesting batch. Their varied positions meant that multiple types of guilt were up for debate. Fritz Sauckel, for instance, who was in charge of deporting millions of civilians from Germany,
who managed to somehow have a worse moustache than Hitler. Like, he's gone for the Hitler moustache, but also shaved it too far away from the lip, so it just looks like a smudge. You know me, I'm usually all in favour of any attempt at facial hair, but Nazis do it badly. It's not the biggest of their crimes, to be absolutely certain, but it's a crime nonetheless.
German-occupied territories for forced labor held a different kind of guilt than Julius Streicher, who didn't directly exert
also a shit moustache
force over people, but instead published the blindingly anti-Semitic newspaper Der Stürmer, a vital tool in the Nazis' dehumanization of the Jews. Inevitably, the Nazis would argue that their particular position should exempt them from guilt and responsibility. Sauckel would argue that he was merely providing workers, that he couldn't be responsible for the slave labor of the civilians he deported.
That's such a silly argument. Like, I was just sending them there. It's nothing to do with me what they did with them once they got there. I'm not a part of a slavery industry at all. I'm a transportation expert. Fuck off. Like, for real, man. Fuck yourself. God almighty. Again, they're cowards. They're fucking cowards. They all knew exactly what they were doing, and yet when they were caught, they all decided to take the bullshit approach of lying. They all fucking lied to try and save themselves. Pathetic. I could have at least respected the consistency. And to some extent, I suppose, bravery in the face of the fact that you've lost and you're facing a noose. To just come out wholeheartedly and say, no, I did what I fucking did. And I believed in it. You can at least say, okay, you know what? Consistency. They're actually standing by the fucking things they did. They're cunts and they're going to fucking die, and deservedly so. But at least have the fucking balls to say, yeah, no, I did that shit. And I'd do it again. Fuck you. But none of them did. They're all cowardly cunts, self-serving, backstabbing snakes to a man. And I say man very advisedly. I don't wish to be associated in a species sense with these creatures.
To do. Stryker would argue, well, he would argue that all the rancid propaganda he published was true, that it wasn't fair for his judges to be Jews, but also that he was powerless to Hitler's power of hypnotic suggestion. Hitler, in absentia, was blamed for virtually every decision made by every defendant. In 1946, Janet Flanner wrote for The New Yorker, quote, "Hitler's absence from the courtroom has been scarcely less troubling than his presence would have been. Absent, he has been, in a sense, both the murderer and the murdered. He has been the alibi and the corpse." Ultimately, the decision...
That's an amazing fucking piece of writing. Can we just hear that again? I think actually I'll put it on screen for you as well. Because that's a fucking genuine gut punch. Just fucking drink these sentences in. This is fucking writing.
Quote, "Hitler's absence from the courtroom has been scarcely less troubling than his presence would have been. Absent, he has been, in a sense, both the murderer and the murdered. He has been the alibi and the corpse."
That's... fuck me, that's powerful. That's fucking powerful. God damn, if I could ever write anything as good as that, I'd be very content. Spectacular stuff. Like the Commandant of Auschwitz did. Yeah, Rudolf Höss. Went to his death unrepentant. I'm glad he died. Can we get some lols in chat for Rudolf Höss being dead? Yeah, he got the punishment he deserved. And in a delightfully ironic place, because they of course sent him back to Auschwitz, to the steps that he used to sit on, or have a seat on. He didn't actually sit on the steps, to oversee his kingdom. The house that had adorned it had been blown up and destroyed, and they set up a gallows there and hanged him. Justice. Writing something like that is very easy. It's called plagiarism. Yeah, I could just copy them, I suppose. Didn't he kill himself? No, you're thinking of... fuck's sake. Rudolf Höss is the guy. Was it Amon Höss? Hang on. What was his first name? No, it was Rudolf Höss or Höss or however the fuck you pronounce it. Very similar names. Rudolf Franz Ferdinand Höss with an umlaut. Was a German SS officer, commander of Auschwitz concentration camp. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, piece of shit.
Ultimately, the decision to bar two quo quo defenses didn't seem to play a huge role in the trial because almost none of the defendants were interested in actually defending the crimes against humanity of the Reich. They instead breathlessly described how they had no knowledge of the worst crimes, and or they were powerless to stop the crimes, and or they actually had tried to stop the crimes, and or they were good actually, and why were they on trial and not that other guy?
Now, Amon Goeth was the guy played by oh god, in the Schindler's List, the camp commandant. What's the actor called? Ralph Fiennes, one of the Fienneses. Anyway, is that guy who was the commandant of the Plaszow camp, which was a sub camp in the Auschwitz network, as it were.
This is not really an exaggeration. In After Nuremberg, Robert Hutchinson writes about Pavlo Bell, a commander of a death squad that killed at least 60,000 people. Hutchinson summarizes his sniveling defense like this. So, in sum, Blobel was forced to serve in the East against his will, much to his anguish, but he never received any illegal orders or committed any illegal acts, and even if he did, which he could not have done, either because of manpower limitations or his own ill health, he would have been completely justified in doing so because of the brutality of the enemy and the dangers to his family if he refused. Flanner, in contemporaneous reporting for the trials, wrote, "It is a fact that the 22 Nazis there helped put millions of people to death, quickly or slowly, by torture, murder, or starvation. But not one of them seemed to want to die for the thing they killed the millions for. Nobody said he would be proud to hang for his belief in the bloodthirsty ideology that cost the millions their lives. For the 12 years, and especially the last terrible 6, that these men in the box were in power, the world thought that they meant it. Then, as this trial went on, it became clear that they didn't mean anything, except their desire to fight for their skins."
And ultimately, that was the point. These were all self-serving people. They were Nazis when it was convenient to be a Nazi. And they were anti-Nazi when it was convenient to be anti-Nazi. Politicians.
There were a few notable exceptions to this trend, what Hutchinson referred to as a psychosis of blamelessness. Hans Frank, a Nazi who served as the governor of occupied Poland during the war, admitted that he took part in the annihilation of the Jews. He said, "I myself have never installed an extermination camp for Jews or promoted the existence of such camp. But if Adolf Hitler personally has laid that dreadful responsibility on his people, then it is mine too. 1,000 years will pass, and still, Germany's guilt will not have been erased." This is a moment.
They did have a thing about the 1,000 years. Look, that's how you can tell they're like fucking failed actors and artists and stuff. They have to do this rhetorical flourish. The 1,000-year Reich, 1,000 years of guilt. Just say a long time, mate. Stop trying to big yourself up, you fucking freak.
When the actual trial...
You're a petty little scumbag murderer. Eat rope.
...matches my imagination of what it could be. An admission by a war criminal of not just guilt, but shame. A recognition of their complicity as a part of the whole monstrous machine. The dream of any trial, I would imagine, is not just that the judge or the jury holds a guilty defendant responsible. It's that the trial could actually cause the defendant to clearly see their guilt for the first time. Unfortunately, it's hard to say this is what happened with Hans Frank. In his final statement before the verdict, he absolved both himself and Germany of their burden. "I said 1,000 years would not suffice to erase the guilt brought upon our people because of Hitler's conduct in this war. Every possible guilt incurred by our nation has already been completely wiped out today, not only by the conduct of our wartime enemies towards our nation, but also by the tremendous mass crimes committed against Germans by Russians, Poles, and Czechs."
So, you know that thing I said about the 1,000 years of shame? Yeah, it turns out that's all gone now because you've been big meanies. You're being big meanies to the Germans, and so actually, I reckon we're even now. Yeah, we'll call it a draw. We'll move on. I'll see you later. Adieu.
Not even 4 months later, Frank decided Germany's 1,000 years of guilt had already been completely paid off. Probably the best performance at the trial came from Albert Speer, a Nazi architect promoted to Minister of War Production during World War II. Speer managed to walk a delicate line on the stand. He was deeply regretful of Germany's actions during the war and dismayed by Hitler's commands. At the same time, he claimed to be completely ignorant of the country's worst atrocities and had no knowledge of what was happening in the camps. Speer deflected his most damning charges with equally...
No, I know there's a context to the 1,000 years thing, because it's not just the amount of time of Anglo-Saxon England, but 1,000 years was roughly speaking how long the Holy Roman Empire lasted as well. So it's like a part of poetic lore or whatever, yeah. But even so, they were still full of it.
Exciting stories. Did the court know he once tried to assassinate Hitler?
Wasn't true.
In his final speech, Speer virtually ignored the fact that he was on trial at all and instead delivered a warning to modern civilization that Hitler's message spread because of the technological innovations of the radio and the telephone, that the next war, with chemical weapons and precisely targeted rockets, would end human civilization. Therefore, he hoped this trial could prevent such wars in the future and establish rules whereby human beings can...
When you say how no one shot or car bombed that con, depends who you're referring to. If you mean Hitler, they did bomb him. He just fucking survived miraculously. Although he was in a lot of pain for the rest of his days, so that's something. I once watched a documentary where Amanga's daughter met one of the survivors of the camp. I remember thinking this was a really pointless exercise given she was a toddler at the time he died. Like, it was obviously just upsetting her, and it's not like she's responsible for anything herself. True, 255, but you got to bear in mind, people process familial guilt in really odd ways. You know, she may only have been a kid when he died, and clearly she isn't guilty of any of his crimes. But that doesn't mean she doesn't feel guilt for what happened. You know, it was still her dad that did those things. And doing that may have helped her process that pain. Personal PSA, Operation Valkyrie would not have changed much. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it wouldn't have changed quite a lot, to be honest. Like, had it been successful, it's just I don't think it was ever going to be successful. Like, you can set off a bomb, anyone can set off a bomb, but taking over a massive state apparatus with like a tiny handful of men that's pretty difficult. Albert Speer. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, why doesn't anyone shoot anyone, I guess? You might get caught. You know. Ermengarde Monica Hurtvig is the daughter of mass murderer Eamon Goethe. She's still with us, 79 years old, fucking hell. Oh, I've seen that documentary too, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen that. I have seen that before, yeah. Good one, 255, thank you.
And live together. In Speer's speech, he didn't express regret, shame, or guilt. In fact, he positioned himself as more high-minded, the war having taught him sacred lessons that he was now disseminating to the court. And for Speer, it worked.
Just got back from the football. Miss Hire, do you go to the Blues then? Is that a thing you do? Or are you talking about other football? I don't know.
Worked somewhat marvelously. He was charged with war crimes and crimes against humanity, but his sentence was a relatively light imprisonment for 20 years. In Nuremberg and afterwards, he cultivated the idea of having been a good Nazi, one who only wanted the best for Germany. Martin Kitchen writes, Speer provided a thick coating of whitewash to millions of old Nazis. This was a man who was closer to Hitler than any other, yet who maintained his personal integrity as an apolitical technocrat. If a man so close to Hitler, with such immense power and with close connections to all the leading figures in the Third Reich, was unaware of the mass murder of the European Jews, how could the myriad of lesser figures possibly have known? In truth, Speer did not escape the gallows because of his wisdom and honesty learned through the horrors of war. He escaped because of a far more common Nazi trait, being a fucking liar. Speer, in his own letters, would reveal that he had literally been in the room when Heinrich Himmler announced the plan to exterminate all Jews. He had personally ordered the eviction of Jews from their homes in Berlin and profited hugely via the theft of stolen art and property. Albert Speer. He was photographed and front of the camps. He was smiling. Can you imagine a smile in front of a concentration camp, proud of the machinery, proud of the tracks, the structures, the slave labor? He claimed to not know. They all claimed to not know as the ash filled their lungs and burned their eyes and buried their streets. They smiled in front of them, and they didn't know. They couldn't have known. We didn't know. We couldn't have. Albert Speer was not a well-meaning man put in a situation beyond his control. He was an aggressive participant in the worst of the Reich's crimes. His plot to assassinate Hitler was patently absurd. At best, a half-tossed-out idea never acted upon. At worst, and more accurately, a total fabrication cooked up in his jail cell. Some proof of Speer's crimes emerged later, after his sentencing, even after his death in 1981. But much of it, his participation in the camps, for instance, was actually presented as evidence in Nuremberg. It's hard not to wonder if Speer's release from the gallows was because he presented his wartime experience as a proof of his value, his wisdom not compelling despite his closeness to Hitler, but because of it. Or maybe the prosecution was just doing a bad job. This was a consistent source of frustration, both internally and from outside observers. You'd think the prosecution had the easiest job in the world, demonstrating that Nazis carried out crimes against peace, war, and humanity. And yet, they struggled to be compelling. Part of this was due to American prosecutor Jackson's plan to call no witnesses and simply use the Nazis' own documentation against them. This was, intellectually, a compelling strategy. He planned to use this hard evidence to unequivocally prove the guilt of the defendants and reveal the scale of Germany's crimes. The documents he would use as evidence had no chance of courtroom perjury or poor performance under cross-examination, and they were written by the Nazis themselves. But in practice, reading documents doesn't make for an electrifying courtroom, and it gave the Nazis plenty of opportunities to quibble with specifics. Flanner wrote in 1945, "On the whole, our lawyers have succeeded in making the world's most completely planned and horribly melodramatic war dull and incoherent."
Well, 255 on that exact point, stay tuned, because he brings up a similar contention with himself.
There were dramatic moments on the stand when the defendants seemed to crumble under overwhelming evidence of their crimes. There were also moments, however, when the prosecution seemed to crumble. This was most evident in dealing with the main character of the first Nuremberg trials, if there was one, Hermann Göring. The Allies were proud to have nabbed Göring. He was basically the highest-level Nazi leader who hadn't already killed himself. Actually, Göring wasn't captured at all. He turned himself in, alongside many suitcases stuffed with stolen art, and one stuffed with over 20,000 paracodeine pills, of which he was taking more than 100 a day.
Let's get lit. Let's get lit.
And yet, Göring was also the sharpest, most dangerous defendant of the trial. Not dangerous in that he would physically attack anyone, but in that he was capable of exerting tremendous influence over the other imprisoned Nazis, coordinating strategy
stay tuned
and
on that
coaching them
point
on their
too.
narratives from within jail. The IMT was so fearful of this coordination that they attempted to completely isolate Göring, and yet even from within his cell, he made friends, with the men charged with watching him 24 hours a day, even with the jail physician. Within the court, seemingly everyone turned to Göring for his reaction to every event. Was he satisfied by another defendant's testimony? Was he shaken by the footage of the death camps? When Göring took the stand, he largely bowled over Jackson's cross-examination, using his time instead to narrate the epic course of his own life. Flanner wrote, "On the witness stand, he didn't wait to be asked questions by the Allied prosecution. He told them the German answers first." Göring made Machiavelli's prince look like a dull apologist. Göring was decidedly more amoral and funnier. He seemed to be better informed about Europe's history than the prosecutors, more agile in his defense than they were in their attack, more interested in eloquently telling his own personal epic than even really defending himself. Flanner concluded it was the complicated narrative of a brain without a conscience.
Brain without a conscience. Some of the writing is just fucking phenomenal. I mean, it's easy to get inspired, I guess, when you're dealing with these kind of horrific events, but still.
Goring, unlike Speer or Stryker, had no doubt he would be executed. Before the trial even started, Goring said he would be willing to testify against many of the other defendants if he could buy himself execution via firing squad instead of the noose. In context of this certainty, his performance at the trial wasn't a plea for mercy, but a continuation of his own personal myth-making, an individual enactment of the fascist dream of an eternal empire. "We will be martyrs," Goring said. "Even if it takes 50 years, the German people will recognize us as heroes. They'll put our bones in marble caskets in a great national shrine." Of the 22 Nazis tried at the first Nuremberg trials, 10 of them were executed.
Now, before you get into the thinking, oh, well, Goering did the thing that Kev said he didn't do. He was obdurate, he was up his own arse, but he also denied knowing anything about the Holocaust, which is, of course, ludicrous. He literally had observation units that would have known about these camps, and at no point did he ever look into what these massive networks of facilities might be. They were taking up a lot of the fuel that was necessary for him to continue flying operations. You think he might have had someone look into it? He knew all about this. He absolutely knew all of it. He attended fucking cabinet meetings with Hitler, meetings in the bunker. He knew all about what was going on. Total bullshitter.
7 were given prison sentences, and 3 were fully acquitted. That leaves 2 men unaccounted for. Martin Bormann was tried in absentia and had, unbeknownst to the IMT, actually died earlier that year. The other unaccounted man was Hermann Göring. Göring was very much sentenced to death. Persico writes that it took more time to type the verdict than it did for the court to reach it. "There is nothing to be said in mitigation," his judgment read. His guilt is unique in its enormity. But on the day of the scheduled execution, mere hours before 11 men were set to be walked to the gallows, Göring bit into a cyanide capsule in his cell, convulsed, frothed at the mouth, and died.
You're on about the Wannsee conference. He did attend in the morning. It's unsure whether he remained for the main conversation. But either way, it doesn't matter whether he was technically there for that bit of it or not. He knew all what was going on. He was arguably the second most powerful man in Nazi Germany for most of that time. You think he wasn't aware of what was going on? Where did he think all these people were going?
In his suicide note, Göring claims he possessed the pill the whole time. Others theorize he had outside help. In 2005, a 78-year-old former American guard unverifiably confessed to sneaking the pill into Göring's cell. In any case, the suicide was a final denial of the trial's legitimacy. He did not accept guilt, he did not accept shame, and he would not accept the judge's ruling. It is, depending on your perspective, the climax or anticlimax of the trial. Göring outwits the IMT at the last second.
It's not even outwitting. Well, that framing of it is, I think, a disservice to humankind. He didn't outwit anybody. He got hold of a tablet in a pot of cream. He hid a thing and then ate it and died. I didn't eat it, you just crunch on it and yeah, you did. Like, you make him into far more of a mercurial genius by framing it as he outsmarted them. No, he didn't. Also, he was going to die in a few hours anyway. Like, what did he really achieve there? They still burnt his body with the rest of them and got dumped. They can't put your bones in a casket, motherfucker, because they're ash. And they've been dumped in a river. So functionally, you don't exist anymore. It's as if Hermann Göring had never existed. There is no physical remnant of him.
Sucks the air out of the trial's punchline. Which is kind of ridiculous, right? because the end result is that he died a few hours earlier than he was supposed to.
Yeah, why not a Mad Cat? Yeah, if that's something that interests you, definitely.
Goring faced trial, was judged guilty, and died the night he was sentenced to die. Reading about the remaining 10 executions, I personally experienced a sort of deflation, a reminder of what I already knew, that there is no peace or virtue to be found in enacting a death sentence. The 10 Nazis were hung, one at a time, from a
hanged. None of them were hung. I think that was part of the problem.
Gallows built in the Nuremberg Gymnasium. It was done between the hours of 1:30 and 3 o'clock a.m. About 50 people in total were in attendance. There were no revelations that day, no necessary truths. Some went to their deaths quietly, some attempted honor. Wilhelm Keitel, the former chief of the Oberkommando, said he would follow all the German soldiers who had died for their fatherland. Streicher, the publisher of Der Stürmer, who claimed he had been under Hitler's hypnosis, apparently fell under the dead Führer's spell once again, screaming Heil Hitler and Purimfest 1946, before dying slowly at the end of the noose.
Lol. Absolutely. Just massive W's for humanity there. Can we get some W's in chat? Julius Streicher slowly choking to death before his neck snaps. I approve this message.
Staff laid Goring's body next to the 10 other corpses. 3:05 a.m. on October 16th, 11 dead Nazis in a gymnasium. Justice served. Let us assume, for the sake of argument, that it was nothing more than misfortune that made you a willing instrument in the organization of mass murder. There still remains the fact that you have carried out and therefore actively supported a policy of mass murder. For politics is not like the nursery. In politics, obedience and support are the same. And just as you supported and carried out a policy of not wanting to share the earth with the Jewish people and the people of a number of other nations, as though you and your superiors had any right to determine who should and who should not inhabit the world, we find that no one, that is no member of the human race, can be expected to want to share the earth with you. This is the reason, and the only reason, you must hang. The bodies, along with their nooses, were cremated. The ashes were tossed into a river. The urns themselves were smashed. Goring's prediction would not come to pass, at least not literally. There are still no marble caskets, no national shrines, no bones to recover. There are, instead, the thoughts and opinions and memories of the survivors of the war. What do they think? What did Germany think? Reporting is mixed, to say the least. Obviously, a country's people are not a monolith. Flanner wrote that in her experience, the 1945 German public didn't particularly care about the trials one way or another. They were too shell-shocked from the war, too long flooded by misinformation to believe anything, too sick
and so desperate just to survive. You know, their cities didn't have running water. There was nowhere to fucking live. When you've got that shit going on, the trial of some dickheads who are going to get killed, who cares? How does that help me feed my child?
of hearing about the particular men on trial. She reports, they think the trial is an effort at propaganda rather than justice, a myth they have forgotten about and so no longer believe in. Persico
I'm not
writes
sure, Sean,
that rich
to be
German
honest.
families were eager to describe their mistreatment during the war and denounce the Reich. One never seemed to meet a Nazi in Germany these days, he notes dryly, except for the few in the dock at Nuremberg. Polls, themselves, of course, a fallible instrument, paint a slightly different picture, one of brief agreement with the actions of the Allies, followed by increasing frustration. In 1946, a reported 78% of the population thought of the trials as fair. By 1950, this had dropped 40 full points to a mere 38%. Perhaps more alarming, in 1947, more than half the population said they thought Nazism was, quote, a good idea badly carried out, a proportion that would increase in Germany over the next couple years. These narratives were encouraged by Nazi sympathizers in America, some of whom held prominent government positions. Joseph McCarthy, for instance, amplified the idea that these trials were an example of Jewish vengeance. His Senate colleague, William...
Wow, you mean he was a Nazi? That's crazy.
Langer declared that the trials were a communist plot designed to seize the property of innocent German bankers and industrialists.
If only.
And if this was the full arc of the Nuremberg trials, it would be a strange and naughty story of the beginnings of international justice. Some men hanged, some men imprisoned, some men freed, a world unsure of what to think. But the stranger story of the Nuremberg trials is that they didn't conclude the day of the hanging. Rather, the International Court disbanded, but the trials continued, both within Nuremberg and at Dachau, the concentration camp turned into a massive prosecutorial apparatus. Both of these were held by the U.S. alone, rather than with the cooperation of other Allied countries. The following trials, held at Nuremberg, tried 185 Nazi leaders. The ones at Dachau tried 1,672 lower-ranking soldiers charged with war crimes. These trials originally handed out a total of 438 death sentences, 207 life sentences, and 868 shorter imprisonments. This is a much larger sentencing over a much larger swath of the Nazi Party, with generally much less attention paid by local or international press. But the real notability
still not enough, though,
is what happened to those sentences.
They were
From
all
1946
commuted.
to 1951, the U.S. military
most.
hanged 252 condemned prisoners at the same prison where the original Nuremberg executions were held. But not only were the remaining 186 death sentences commuted, by 1958, virtually every other convicted Nazi at the subsequent Nuremberg and Dachau trials, whether sentenced to death, life, or otherwise, walked free. Even of the 7 imprisoned after the original Nuremberg trials, only one, Rudolf Hess, served an actual life sentence in prison. It's hard to find a single reason that explains these commutations.
The Americans wanted an ally in Germany, and Germany didn't want to denazify because it was still sort of being run by Nazis.
Legally, the courts for these subsequent trials seemed to move away from Nuremberg's most famous determination. While the original trial may have ruled that just following orders didn't absolve anyone of responsibility, the subsequent trials and releases often seem to do just that. Hutchinson writes that this advisory board that determined clemency for German war criminals systematically questioned the parameters of individual guilt or responsibility as established by the tribunals. In other words, the courts decided that maybe it was a reasonable excuse that the Nazis were just following orders. But these legal determinations were also perhaps influenced by the larger political context of Germany in the 50s. Logistically, the US didn't want to be locked into the responsibility of monitoring the sentences of every Nazi imprisoned in Germany. Politically, the next war, the Cold War, was imminent, and the US may have been more interested in building a new allyship with Germany than maintaining the sentences of its war criminals. Ethically, the continued imprisonment of Nazis called into question the purpose of prisons writ large. That is to say, why exactly were the Nazis being held? Was it the risk of recidivism, that once released they would be a danger unto others? That seemed improbable. Their crimes, though performed as individuals, were done as part of a collective. No lone Nazi released free back into Germany was likely to try and rebuild the death camp. So why shouldn't they get out early? For good behavior. Whatever the reasons that prompted the US to so dramatically reduce the sentences of these Nazis, the German public took the news as a referendum on the Nuremberg trials as a whole. The near-universal commutations suggested that something had gone fundamentally wrong at Nuremberg. It implied that the trials had, in fact, been the vengeance of a conquering country. This was reflected in German public opinion. By 1952, 60% disapproved of the handling of the trials by foreign powers, and only 9% of those surveyed believed that the still imprisoned Nazi generals were, in fact, guilty. The risk of recidivism is not the only reason to imprison war criminals. The more compelling rationale might be as a sort of message to the world. The continued imprisonment of Nazi war criminals could demonstrate that their crimes and crimes of a similar nature must be taken seriously. That there was no situation, not peace or war or economic ruin, that could justify mass deportations, enslavements, or genocide. It is hard to imagine that the way the trials did end, with a limp admission of the logistical difficulty of continuing consequences, sent that same message. While the international community was generally less fascinated by the subsequent trials the US held in Germany, they certainly reacted strongly to its shrug of an ending. All sides of the political spectrum in France, the UK, and the United States were incensed. They called it a complete reversal of a fundamental goal of the Allies. Newspapers said the commutations were a treason against the common good.
Superb. Yeah. UEFA did the bare minimum, ? What did they do? Have I missed something?
One powerful criticism read, "A would-be war criminal of the future need not be discouraged by the Nuremberg trials from indulging in similar genocidal excesses."
Hey, hello my left eye. We're watching something that's not too heavy tonight, in the form of the thing about the Nuremberg trials and the Holocaust. Yeah, just light, fluffy material this evening. Everyone go and follow my left eye on the YouTubes. Yeah, you should do that. Hey, and hello to Zakap in the Twitch chat as well. Everyone go and follow Zakap, who is awesome. UEFA unfurls Gaza-related plea banner after Palestinian tribute fallout. Okay, that really is the bare minimum. So before the European Super Cup fucking chocolate cup trophy, stop killing children, stop killing civilians. Okay, you know what? That's fair. That's good that UEFA did this. That's awesome. What I will say is, it's one of your member nations that's doing that. That's killing the children and the civilians. Suspend them from European competition until they stop. Because one of the things, rightly, that you banned Russia from European competitions, so no European, Spartak Moscow or CSKA or Zenit St. Petersburg. Because the Russian government are enacting war and genocide upon the people of Ukraine. So you've gone, you know what, Russia? Whilst you're being pricks, you go sit at the naughty table. Get fucked. Israel's doing way worse, and you're going, could you maybe stop? They're literally killing Palestinian footballers, for fuck's sake. What the fuck is this? Like, you don't even say, Israel, stop killing civilians. Like that could be who are you referencing here? Like, it's one of those fucking headlines about, oh, Palestinian dies. So, no one knows how. Could have been anyone. Fuck's sake. UEFA are fucking useless.
That retort came from, oh, interesting, the Israeli government. In 1960, 15 years after the first trials, Israeli agents would go to Argentina and find Adolf Eichmann, one of the Nazi leaders that evaded judgment at Nuremberg. The agents then abducted him. They captured him, snuck him through airport security, and put him on a plane to Israel. This was a very clear violation of several UN treaties. At first, Israel absurdly claimed that the abduction had been carried out by unaffiliated volunteers. Later, it admitted Mossad planned the whole operation with the
Jesus. So, are you telling me the Israeli government broke UN rules, several UN rules, and received absolutely no backlash about that, and then lied about it. Nah, that doesn't sound like them. That's not in keeping with their general tenor of governance at all. That is... I'm sensing some anti-Semitism. Have we checked underneath this man's house for tunnels? I reckon there's a Hamas control centre in this man's house. Definitely. Hamas.
Knowledge and support of the Prime Minister. No matter the logistics, once Eichmann was in Israel, the plan was clear. He would stand trial, and he would, ultimately, hang. Eichmann protested in the same manner the Nazis had at Nuremberg, that he had not been a decision-maker, just a cog in the Nazi machine. He said he didn't have anything personally against the Jews. He didn't have an anti-Semitic bone in his body. It was this trial, in fact, that gave us the most indelible phrase of this whole saga of history: the banality of evil. It was coined by Holocaust survivor Hannah Arendt, who chronicled Eichmann's trial for The New Yorker. She wrote, "Eichmann was not Iago and not Macbeth. Except for an extraordinary diligence in looking out for his personal advancement, he had no motives at all." This banality did not preclude him from overseeing the murder of millions of people. In all likelihood, it enabled it. What did Israel hope to gain from the trial? Admission, guilt, shame? No, I doubt anyone thought they would wring these things from Eichmann. Arendt thought the desire was more base. "We refuse and consider as barbaric," she writes, "the propositions that a great crime offends nature so that the very earth cries out for vengeance, that evil violates a natural harmony which only retribution can restore. And yet I think it is undeniable that it was precisely on the ground of these long-forgotten propositions that Eichmann was brought to justice to begin with, and that they were, in fact, the supreme justification for the death penalty."
And this is the thing I can't ever quite get away from. I am a monkey. I am a monkey who wears clothing. I'm a monkey who can drive a car. But I'm still a monkey. Or an ape, whatever. I don't give a fuck. A hairy cunt, right? I know in my the logical part of my brain understands all of the arguments against the death penalty. And that's why I support not having the death penalty here, and I would argue it shouldn't exist anywhere. But I can't get away from this exact logic when it comes to people like Adolf Eichmann or Rudolf Hess, although he wasn't executed, unfortunately. Julius Streicher, all of these fucking horrible cunts. Is that it goes beyond any logic. It goes beyond any rationality, any thought, any clever argument to just... There's a basic, like, I don't know, law of the cunt. If you're going to be a cunt, then you don't deserve the niceties of humanity. You know? Like, you don't deserve the benefit of my rationality. If you wish to engage in slaughter, doesn't matter of who or for what reason you think you have that justifies it, you don't get the benefit of rationality. You get a rope. Or a prison cell, or whatever. You get a trial. I'm not for summary execution. I'm not a madman. But I can't get away from the need for that final justice to be done to these people. I can't. And I know it's wrong. I know deep down I know it's wrong. But there's just something inside me that says, no, these fuckers need to stop. They need to stop existing. their existence is a detriment to everybody. Kev, deep philosophical question. Will fascism just keep reoccurring? To some extent, yes. Whilst we remain the Homo sapiens that we currently are, yeah. Every now and then you're going to get recurrences of it, because it's ultimately, again, we're apes. We're scared of things. We have in-group, out-group preferences. We separate each other based on the most absurd nonsense, like the colour of your skin, or the geographical location of your birth, or what football team you support, or what city you're from. Like, just fucking nonsense. And so in times of stress, in times of economic hardship, in times of great migration, yeah, you're going to get reoccurrences of it. And it's up to every generation to play fascist whack-a-mole. Wherever they crop up, you're smashing the fuck back down. That's all you can do, really. There's no new Soviet man going to appear. There's no new socialist species that we're going to turn into. Even under the most perfect system, there's still going to be, dare I say it, issues. That's right. Sometimes it's not an issue. Strong disagree. Fascism is a part of human nature as a result of our current political setup. Colonialism plus capitalism. Well, firstly, colonialism has existed for a lot longer than capitalism. And I think you could argue that a lot of that colonialism pre-capitalism was kind of fascistic. Now, in terms of it being the kind of technocratic industrial fascism that we know from the modern world, yeah, okay, I accept your point. If we take a broader definition of what fascism is, to include lots of other kind of less formally fascist but ultimately authoritarian, violent ethno-nationalism, that's existed for a very long time. And that's sort of what I'm referring to. I'm not suggesting that National Socialism is inherent to humanity. I'm suggesting that authoritarianism, as sold to a weak, and I say weak as in mentally and morally, I suppose, population in times of stress, they'll give over their freedoms to a charismatic, terrible despot because they promise to protect them from X thing, be it internal or external or both.
This is the feeling that sits in the center of my chest, like a stone, like an anchor, as I watch intolerable cruelty around me and fantasize of Nuremberg. That the earth cries out.
Again, he's talking about Israel.
For vengeance, that this cannot just happen and then we move on, that we cannot simply look forward as opposed to looking backward, that we cannot let this go unpunished and thus unacknowledged and thus forgotten. That there must be a consequence. An inchoate scream that echoes around my skull. God, I wish for you hell existed, but it does not. So there must be a consequence. I have this feeling now. I had it reading about Nuremberg. And then when I reached that climactic chapter, their sentence delivered, 10 genocidal necks snapped in a prison, I felt nothing at all. No relief, no less hollow, no natural harmony restored. The earth does not cry out for vengeance. The earth just cries.
That's a fucking beautiful phrase. It's a fucking torture. It's a fucking brutally fucking brilliant piece of lyricism. The earth doesn't cry out for vengeance. The earth just cries. Oh God, that's fucking good. Holy shit, that's good. I'm listening to that again. I don't give a fuck. That was beautiful. God, this is amazing writing.
I felt nothing at all. No relief, no less hollow, no natural harmony restored. The earth does not cry out for vengeance. The earth just cries. Did the trials deter anything? If punishment does not heal the soul, and it never, ever does, did the trials at least prevent more crimes against humanity? It is impossible to prove a negative. I can't point to the past 80 years for proof of what didn't happen. But the world did not stop its march of atrocities. I mean, the U.S. alone. In 1990, Noam Chomsky said if the Nuremberg laws were applied, then every post-war American president would have been hanged. In 1990, he said that. In Germany, Nazism was largely made illegal, though it's hard to attribute this effort to the efficacy of the trials, especially given the note of resignation on which they ended. Nor can one look at Germany today and be proud of the lack of Nazism or its commitment to preventing genocide.
See, I told you he was talking about Israel.
Of course, the most irrational thing about yearning for a new Nuremberg is that a trial is necessarily reactive. It punishes a thing that has already happened. The damage has already occurred. If my concern is with humans and not some unmeasurable karmic sense of justice, Nuremberg represents a situation in which the worst possible thing is already a foregone conclusion. In 1945 and today, I'd trade the sentences of every responsible Nazi in return for one fewer civilian death, one family not forever shattered. It's this I try to remind myself of most of all. The point cannot be retribution. The point is to help each other survive.
God, this is good. This is so good. Everyone, I mean, he's got like 1.4 million subscribers, so he doesn't need my help. But everyone go and check out Jacob Geller. It's not a new channel, but a new channel to me, and that's fucking awesome. That's the kind of fucking art that we need so much more of. That was fucking glorious. God, I enjoyed that. As horrific as it was to watch, the subject matter is horrific. But that was fucking excellent. God, that was special. And now we're back to the meme. Fucking shouty people outside my fucking gaff again. Yeah, that was amazing. I wanted to just share that with you. Fucking beautiful. Okay, well, that's basically me for the evening. I'm done. Oh, I'm tired. So I'm going to piss off. Who's going on YouTube? I can send you all over to. Leftist Mafia? Okay, we'll go over there. That's who's going on Twitch. Raptor Blue. Okay, we can do that. I'm always down for a suggestion. Oh. Thank you enormously, everyone, for your support. In whatever form it arrives, I am enormously grateful. Raptor Blue? Ah, there we go. Fuck's sake. Okay. Yeah. And I'll Will I be back tomorrow? Maybe. I don't really have anything planned, but the stream suggestions option on the Discord is very much there. If you want to push me in a certain direction. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for being fucking awesome. And you really are awesome. Free Palestine. No Passaran.
Ain't no worries. I'll put this down here for you guys. Sean again.